No, I'm made for kids. No, okay. Cool. Some settings can be saved. The fuck. Shit, what up, dudes? Scream. Yeah, share out with Twatter. Live now, recording true scary stories on YouTube. YouTube. What's this? YouTube at home. At YouTube has 72 million followers. Whoa, way to flex on us. Jeesh. Okay, pop this chat out. Chat's popping already. What's good, fam? Oh shit. Wallaby Maniac with the 11... I don't know what that is. Looks like a currency. 11 M's. Thank you, Wallaby. Says, check out Let's Read Wendigo animation. It's awesome. Yeah, that's usually at the opening of my paranormal videos. For sure. Thank you guys. Wow. Welcome everybody. Hope the music isn't too loud. You guys will have to let me know here. What's good, homie Skillet? Biscuit? Nothing much, just being a homie. Just kissing my homies goodnight, which is all of you. Maya B with a 5 says, hiya. Hiya, Maya. Welcome back. Cashy says, everyone make sure to watch Let's Read's latest video. Yes, that would be highly advised. We got a sponsorship with the, what's it called on that one, with Shudder, which actually I was kind of like pretty stoked about that one because, you know, Shudder's like horror based, so I feel like that's more everyone's style, you know what I mean? And it actually has like a ton of really good titles on there, which is sick. Dude. Holy shit, Mr. Will Sharp with the 50 freaking big ones. Holy shit, man. You guys are Oh, that actually went perfect with the music there. Wow. William, thank you so much for presses. Thank you, Margarine Socks Dairy Allergy. Yeah, we need to have I can't believe it's not butter socks. To get some alternatives. Thank you, Will. Holy cow. You guys are coming in hot. Right out the freaking gate, and I honestly, like, at this point, I don't even know what to say. You guys are just crazy. Crazy. Thank you, my friends. And thank you, Jasmine P with the 5 says, what truly scares you? Now, that's a good question. I'd hate to ruin the good mood with getting too deep here, but for me, I mean, I guess like within the material world, I am definitely afraid of like open water, like in the middle of the ocean. If like I think about that situation with the what was it, like the SS Indianapolis or something of that nature, where they had to tread water for many days, and then slowly over time sharks started to just pick them off as if though they were, you know, just cleaning up the ocean's filth. And that, I feel like dying that way would suck. Just generally drowning would suck. Drowning. I would hate to get killed by a bear. That's one thing that I think would really suck. I guess just getting eaten alive has always been a general fear. I remember there was this really disturbing audio my friend sent me that was a really disturbing audio related to this guy who, like, these people that like live with a bear for a few days, and then these bears came into their tent or something and like killed them and ate them alive, and you could hear them being eaten alive, and it was just like really, really disturbing because it just sounded fucking a horrendous way to go. And then just general existential dread that I have of what comes after death, if anything, you know what I mean? I like to think that there is something. I like to think there is something better for us, you know? I don't know what to say, really. Mainly because I just feel like I would be very ignorant to sit there and say that I know for certain, because I don't. But I think sometimes I think about, like, you know, a lot of us here in the United States and sort of Western cultures were raised within the sort of context of Christianity, you know what I mean? Like, Western culture wouldn't be what it is without Christianity, and Christianity, at least the Reformed Christianity, wouldn't be what it is without the Western culture, you know what I mean? So for me, when you really dig into what Christianity says, even though it does have, you know, a very peaceful message, and in the concepts of the New Testament, there's a lot of it that also has a very exclusive nature to it, that sort of like almost in some ways guarantees a certain sense of eternal damnation to a lot of people. And maybe I could be completely wrong. Those more educated than me could correct me, and I'm more than happy to welcome that. But there's something about it that is so terrifying, to think that you could, you know, this little blink of an existence that you have her own life could just end in a blink of an eye in a similar fashion, and then the remainder of your conscious eternity is just in a terrible, terrible place. So don't think about that, because I mean, obviously it's just a scary thing to even consider, but I'm really digging this music though. Willow Mac with the 10. Thank you, Willow. Thank you. Sorry, I'm going on and on about my existential fears. That was a good question, though. I appreciate that. Zeke Brown with the 2 says, hello, ooh, oh, oh, whoa. Oh, well, thank you, Zeke, and welcome. The movie Open Water is legitimately unsettling. You know, that's exactly what I was thinking of, that movie, but I never actually saw it. I always just had, like, I don't normally really have anxiety per se, you know, or at least the manner in which it manifests for some people. Gonna turn this music down just a tad. But yeah, Open Water definitely gives me borderline anxiety attack if I ever end up in the ocean. I can keep my cool, but there's just something knowing that, like, there's so much that can kill you in the ocean is just petrifying, I suppose. Venus Flytrap, welcome back, Venus. The Tense is glad to be back so soon. It's time for me to get off the games and listen to some lovely spoops. So I've got the spoops for you tonight, and I hope you enjoy them. And I'm glad. What game were you playing? What interactive vidya were you participating in? A lot of people have been playing. A lot of people in the Overwatch community have been playing Valorant, which I find interesting because it's like a Counter-Strike clone, but it's got, like, you know, Overwatch powers. Do I imagine it's going to last long? It could. Am I interested in it? Not really. But we shall see. You know, you never know what games will be the ones to take off. Guys, thank you so much for your generosity so far. That always kind of like wildly overwhelms me. It's something I don't really expect, but then it just happens, and so thank you guys for keeping me alive. Has anyone tried Dead by Daylight Mobile? That's a good question. I have not. I've not even played the original, but a lot of people in the Discord, I feel like, are big fans of Dead by Daylight, and I've never given it its fair chance. How do you spell Valorant? So it's Valorant, I believe. Valorant. Have you tried the new Final Fantasy VII Remake? No, I've honestly wanted to. I haven't really touched my PS4 since Red Dead 2. But I really want to try Final Fantasy VII Remake. It looks cool, and I never actually gotten to play through that series before. Has anyone tried Mrs. Pac-Man? I've tried Mr. Pac-Man. I never got a chance to try Mrs. What is the big differences between Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man, gameplay-wise? Also, I did not get a lot of sleep today. I want to apologize if I do a lot of yawning and it's kind of messing with your psyche or sending you into a sleepy state. Yawns can be contagious. New member with the Venus flytrap. Venus, thank you, thank you. Full-grown pizza. It's an odd question, but full-grown pizza. Thank you, Venus Flytrap. Welcome, welcome. It still says sponsor, which is funny for those instead of members, but I guess it's like back when it was called sponsors. But I feel like they changed that because it doesn't sound like quite as personal as like being a member does, you know. But I'm doing good tonight. Where's Pradeep? Pradeep is actually, so my buddy is visiting. We're taking a break from social distancing, and he's out in the living room playing Pokemon Sword and Shield. My friend let me borrow it, my other friend, and I never actually gave it a try, like a full go, which is sad. I don't know, I just had not been inclined to really pick it up, but then my friend saw it sitting there, so that's what he's playing. But Pradeep is out there with him. It's weird, Pradeep seemed very tired for some reason, so I'm going to show you my feet. I got some pretty good feet. Some nice hobbit toes. Cassandra Hill with the 20 big ones says, I love horror movies and scary ass games, but I can't watch them by myself or play them. Lol's ironic. No, I feel you. I feel you on that one. Like, especially games, because games are a lot more involved. I feel like with a scary movie, I can kind of at least passively absorb it, even though I do feel more on edge by myself. But with games, I remember it was back in high school, I think, or maybe college, that I played through, yeah, I guess it was high school, Dead Space 1. And I really had to, like, hype myself up to, like, get through Dead Space 1. And it was a great game. Honestly, recommend it to everyone who's a fan of, like, Resident Evil 4 and all of those style of games. It's actually, I feel like the controls are a lot more fluid than Resident Evil 4. Which I heard they were actually making a remake of Resident Evil 4, where they're releasing talks of it. And also in gaming news leaks and rumors, I saw Rockstar had said that they are in very early development of Grand Theft Auto 6. So I think a lot of people thought they'd been working on Grand Theft Auto 6 since like pretty much the release of 5. But presumably they're obviously working on Red Dead. And I guess we won't be getting Grand Theft Auto 6 for quite a bit of time. I think a lot of people honestly expected almost like an announcement trailer for Resident Evil, or Grand Theft Auto 6, but I'm fine. I'm fine with waiting. It just means it will be a solid iteration into the next gen consoles. Gothic Rose with the 5 Canadian says, hey, long time no see, everyone. Hope you're all healthy and happy. Thank you, Gothic. Welcome. Thank you for always moderating. Really appreciate that. Dude, Will with another 20 biggins says, government issued cheese. Insert ransom word here. Or I'm going to buy all sorts of government cheese with that 20, Will. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. What is government cheese? I Was that only during sort of like the Soviet era, or is that still an ever-present item that I can grab at my local wall fart? Because I'd like to know what I'm missing out on here, because it sounds delicious. It almost reminds me of kind of like in Portal, where there's like cake. The cheese is a lie. What am I drinking? Oh, yes. I am having a little bit of tea action. I don't remember which one it was. I think Early Grey. Earl Grey. Early Bird. Early Bird Earl. I'm out of it tonight, actually. This is, I was going to take a nap, but then my buddy came over, so I, like, kind of just not quite all there, but you guys got to keep me focused, keep me with it. Hopefully that doesn't impede too much upon my reading abilities for y'all. For y'all. Y'all. A wick cheese. Oh, yeah, that's right. Diet Dr. Pepper. No, I would drink Diet Dr. Pepper during streams, but I've learned very early on that I cannot Aquifer. Am I drinking Aquifer? No, but I have it ready to lube my lips for reading. But as far as Dr. Pepper goes, I learned very early on that I cannot drink that because it will cause me to burp. And as you can tell, a lot of my mistakes sometimes come from just random burps out of nowhere. And Dr. Pepper would kind of just exacerbate the issue. The name's Earl Grey. Brad Allen with the tenor. Big Tenny Tan. This is getting ready for the spoopy. Taking a big spoop on the floor. Spoop on the floor. Get spoopy. Yeah, the carbonation of Dr. Pepper does not help with trying to maintain a pure voice. I'm gonna actually end up sounding like Rick. Holy shiznits, Cashy with a 50 Canadian maple seared lip doll hairs. Oh my goodness, she says, drink me too, please. I will gargle that. Holy cow. You guys are... You guys are nuts. You guys are literally nuts. I don't even know. Cashy, this is hearkening me back to the... remember when I used to play... Cashy, you've been here since I was gaming. When I really first started streaming on YouTube, I was doing some games like before videos would come out to kind of like build up hype or something like that. And, man, back then I was just twerking nonstop. You could hear it. You could hear the cheeks clapping through the mic. Thank you, Cashy. Holy shiznit, man. You guys are blowing me up right now. It's kind of insane. And Will, what is going on? Just bury me. Just bury me, Will. Goodness gracious. With this another 20 bucks says, when I type it, it don't come out so good. No, that's okay. That's all right. Thank you. Goodness gracious. And Will again with the 10 says, nuts or drunk? Me? Oh, me. Do I, or you, or me, or you, or who, or we? I'm just a little nuts right now. I should do a little drinky drink stream sometime. I have not touched the alcohol in quite a bit, to be honest, and I probably do sound a bit wackadoodle. But you guys are nutball mode with these donos. It's just it's like a freaking, like another dimension, my dude. Goodness gracious. Gabrielle, you want to know where babies come from? Me, baby. Me. No, I think they come from the stork still. But babies are no longer considered an essential business in the stork delivery system. And I think stork deliveries will soon be privatized. So if you have a very competitive stork out there with a strong beak, a powerful flap to, kind of catch one of the trade winds, I'd say now is the time to get involved in the stork industry and the baby delivery process. America needs babies. We need our coronials. We need them. What do you guys think about this music? I'm really digging this music, honestly. Oh my goodness. Oh my god, dude. Eventually I just clap, clap, clap. The good thing is that I haven't been working out as much, so it's, when I twerk for you guys, it's real loosey-goosey right now. I'm not quite as toned. So it's just, all I have to do is just give it a little wiggle, and it starts jiggling for days like jello. But Nikki Blake, thank you so frickin' much for the $50 dono. Holy shite. Says, hi friend, love you, or I love you too. Goodness gracious, guys. It's like, I don't even know what to think. Those cheeks, them cheeks though, they be clapping. Holy shit, guys. Wet and wild, wacky adventures so far. Totally nutball mode. Who drinks wine? Oh, wine would be a good thing. But I think, honestly, wine gets me drunk more than anything. Like it's weird. Like, I never really believed in the whole, different things get you certain types of drunk. But, wine is one of them, sexy party drinks, if you know what I'm saying. But guys, thank you so freaking much for all of your incredible generosity thus far. It got me extra hyped to get into reading these stories, and it is more than appreciated. Holy shit. But I'm going to transition us over in atmosphere a little bit here to our good friend Iron, Cthulhu, Apocalypse. I want to thank Psy Chamber for the cosmic flux, Psy Chill, Psy Trance, Psybient mix. It was out of this world. And this one's called Witch's Sabbath, Dark Ambient Hour, from our good friend Iron, Cthulhu, Apocalypse. And Liam with the $5 says, just wanted to say I love you from across the pond in England. Oh my goodness. How are you doing, chap? How are you doing, me chap? That's a terrible accent. Don't pretend I never said that, okay? Just pretend. Pretend I haven't completely lost my mind. I think your guys' donos have just driven me nuts. It's a mixture of sleep deprivation. I think I got 2 hours and then another 2 hours. I don't know what it was. Did you ever get a little bit of sleep and then you wake up and, you get the sleep, you wake up, and then you look at your phone. It's probably the worst possible thing you could possibly ever do to maintain sleep, but I do it to myself all the time, and I don't know what it is. Years of night shift, I have conditioned myself to release my melatonin at the worst times, between the hours of 9 a.m. in the evening. So I feel like around this time is when I start to get a bit of a second wind, hopefully. I'd love to transition back to a normal sleep schedule, but I do not think I ever will. Holy shit. What is going on? Twerking. I'm gonna get tired from so much twerking. Oh my lord. Well, first off, Willow Mac with the 20 says, thank you for all the stories. You are absolutely welcome, Willow. Love the name. Thank you so much for the big 20 Buckaruno donation. Thank you, my friend. And thank you, 34 with the 3434. Dono says you should do a drunk stream and we take shots with you. Have a good night, man. Thank you, 34. Man, a drunk stream while we take shots. What would be the... Didn't we talked about this a little bit before as far as like what would be the motivating factor for what would cause a shot to be taken? Oh no, didn't we say like for every certain amount donated or something like that, I would take a shot, which I think based on... Oh man, I would be pretty deep by this point. Holy shit, you guys would get me mentally blacked out. And Bradley Allen with the 10 says oodles of noodles. Thank you, Brad. I wish I had some noodles right now. That sounds pretty good. Honestly, doing the keto thing, it's like anytime you smell like somebody making toast, you just like start to freaking... I'm just drooling without even realizing. Drool is coming out of my nostrils and eyes and ears, every possible orifice. Let me transition over to our reading screen here. Guys, thank you again so much for being here. We're at 330 people. Share the stream out. Like it if you feel so inclined. And if you got a story, send it to reddit.com/r/letsreadofficial. That's where you can hear your story here on the channel. Whether it's in a subscriber story video or whether it lines up with a thematic type of video. You can also, a lot of the theme stories that I get, they might come through email as well. So, and then usually I'll post them onto the subreddit just to make it more convenient for me to read. So yeah, the email for that is, everything's linked down below in the description in case you need to find it. But if you want to go to, or if you want to send it to, obviously the subreddit, and then let's read submissions@gmail.com, that's where you can email it if you don't have a Reddit account. And follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitter at letsread.creepy and Instagram at letsread.official. The Twitter's kind of like hit or miss. Sometimes I say some stupid shit on there, but you know, that's the fun of it. But I'm able to update that one the easiest. But the Instagram one I feel like is a little bit more of a positive atmosphere because I'm posting a lot of memes on my story. And obviously if you are more than welcome to screenshot the poop out of those. Also, I think I'm going to turn this Witch's Sabbath down just another, maybe 1 or 2 tads. I don't know how your ears are doing, but it be hitting different at this witching hour. But you know what I should do? I'm kind of getting a bit of a... I'm kind of getting a bit of... like a kind of a scratch noise, and I do have some of the Iron Cthulhu songs downloaded, so I think if I can get to one of those, a good one, maybe Azahoth's Dark Ambient Hour, and just pause this one because I think it's kind of like, I don't know if it's lagging or if that's just in the song, but it's kind of throwing me for a loop and I'm not really liking it. But yeah, we'll try this one. This should play more clean because it's coming directly from the desktop. Also, that's that background by Robin's looking mighty fine. I never really noticed how much rain was actually in it. Maybe because it's a little bit bigger right now. That's kind of funny. The beautiful rain. Michelle Rudzinski with the 10. Thank you, Michelle. Welcome, welcome. Lexington, Kentucky nurses here. Tony and Jen. Nice. Welcome from Kentucky. I think I got that right. KY, Kentucky. KY Jelly, Kentucky. Is KY Jelly from Kentucky? Is that... It's Kentucky Jelly? I'm going to use some Kentucky Jelly on you now. All right, let's pop this thing off, guys. Enough dilly-dallying, right? This guy's talking way too freaking much. He needs to just suck a butt and read a story, for God's sakes. Pencil Tucky, hell yeah, brother. Let us do it. Also, I thought of a creepy pasta earlier, and I want any of you who are into writing creepy pastas, or you can rate this, tell me how creepy this sounds. But okay, you go into this is how it starts. You're going into your bathroom, and when you get into the bathroom, you turn the light on, and you don't quite notice it at first, but in the reflection of the mirror in the bathroom is like some just creepy, almost undead looking individual who's, looking directly in the mirror, but their like eyes are closed and they're just standing there. So the person, you or whoever, like freaks out because they think someone's behind them, and there's not. And this is the scene where it's just a total freak out. And it could be a long process of like calling the cops or this and that. But every time the person goes into and looks in the mirror, this, in the reflection, there's a person standing there, some sort of undead, terrifying ghoul that's eyes are closed, but it's not interacting or doing anything. It's just pretty much motionless, and it's there. And eventually the main character, after trying to, figure out what the hell all this is and telling everybody about it, but like, maybe nobody else can see it or something, eventually the person just tries to like go about their day-to-day life while this terrifying ghoul is in the reflection of the mirror. And then eventually maybe they kind of like get used to it. And, as the days progress, this ghoul becomes more, all of a sudden, like he looks over, or she looks over as they're brushing their teeth, and now it's like eyes are open, like staring directly at them. I don't know, like something about like very ominous horror to me, and kind of the mystery of where it can kind of go from things. Sounds very scary. You sometimes don't even turn the light on when you're in the bathroom. That's actually more terrifying than my actual story. Gothic with the 5 Canadian maple syrup bucks says, shout out to all the frontline and healthcare angels out there. Yeah, guys, we gotta give them a little bit of a round of applause, guys. Actually, what's sad is I don't know about you guys, but a lot of if you know anybody who's in the healthcare business, a lot of hospital censuses, which is like the population of patients that are actually present in the hospital, have been down. I'm sure it depends on the area, but so, at least in my area, a lot of hospital censuses are down. So, like record number low. And I think a lot of the motivation is because people are in the interpretation that if I go to the hospital, I'm going to get the Rona. You know what I mean? And so people just are like, I'm avoiding hospitals like the plague. So obviously, thank you in any circumstance to all healthcare workers and all that kind of stuff. But the unfortunate part is because of the low census, places have, started to see a decrease in revenue, and then obviously having to lay off workers, and it's kind of creating a tough circumstance for, pretty much everyone around while this sort of lockdown goes on. And I'm very much hoping, I know there's like talk about May being the sort of beginning of the end for all of this, and I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait. It seems as if though my state had kind of taken a vote on just like expediting that whole process of getting businesses open and getting life back to normal. And I believe the governor, which I think a lot of governors are going to have a bit of a say in a lot of this. And, my governor has most likely will veto that bill so in as to, maintain the lockdown, which is unfortunate, but I'm not one in authority to sort of make those decisions, so I can only kind of speculate and observe, and hopefully things will get on getting on, if you catch my drift. Colin with the gram, and sorry to not get to your donation here just as quick, but with the 20 Canadian as well, says, give me the bread. Give me the bread, Daddy. Give me the garlic bread. She put the Rona on me. 2020 best single. Top 40 charts. Oh, man. Rona 2020 or Joel Exotic 2020. I know. It's up in the air at this point, guys. All right. I think it is time to kick this off. I know I've said that quite a bit, and I am 36 minutes in with no reading, and you're like, what the fuck does this guy even do? Well, he's about to show you some skills, but I know I'll probably fuck something up right out the gate. So someone's going to have to keep track of mistakes. Some say July. Yeesh. Yeesh. That is a slow process. Lila, hello, welcome. This first story is called There's Someone in the Bushes, which, when Robin makes that thumbnail, that should be pretty interesting, I think. Well, first I actually have to record 10 seconds of silence so I can remove the background noise. I forgot to do that before I started the stream, so 10 seconds of silence to show respect. Okay, thank you. Time to release this scary story beast. Here he is. I still feel sick to my stomach, and I am honestly so freaked out right now I have every light on in the house. I volunteer for a 24/7 wildlife rescue service here in Australia that mostly accounts to picking up orphaned joeys from the side of the road, catching sick wallabies and roos, getting possums out of fireplaces, and others ranging from very challenging to the basic. Now, I don't drive, so I only do rescues in my area or in a relatively nearby suburbs. I live a block away from a wildlife reserve that has a problem with toxoplasmosis, a parasite that is basically deadly to most macropods, or animals with pouches and marsupials. So when there was a call out at 9 p.m. in the reserve right next to me for a medium-sized wallaby with toxo, I had been bored all day on my day off and went, heck, why not? Got my recuse tub, which contains my essentials. Okay. Mistake number one. Got my recuse tub, which contains my essentials. Hessian, is that how you say it? Hessian bag? Maybe I won't even say it since it's in parentheses. Hessian. Definition of Hessian.
Hessian.
Hessian. A strong, coarse fabric made from hemp or jute used for sacks. That's interesting. You learn a lot. La Llorona brought the Macarena. Got my recuse tab, which contains my essentials, Hessian bag, ties, gloves, and head torch, and went on my way. The couple that called in the roo were at the entrance of the trail, and they told me where it was. What and told me where it was. What the fuck? Sometimes I can never tell if something, especially since this is from Australia, I can never tell if there's like sayings and stuff like that don't quite, line up with what the fuck I'm thinking, you know what I mean? Knew them. Okay, so it says the couple that called in the roo were at the entrance of the trail, and they told me where it was. Knew them, our dogs. Oh, I knew them. Maybe she just added an extra N. I knew them. The couple that called in the roo were at the entrance of the trail, and they told me where it was. I knew them. Our dogs like to play together, and I was easily able to understand what part of the track they were talking about, and I trust them. They offered to come with me, but it was cold and late, and I didn't want to stress the little guy out by having so many people around it, so I politely said no and that I got this. My area is very safe, and I've had no problems walking out late at night or in the dark. So I walked the 30 minutes uphill into the reserve and found the poor wallaby. He was so lethargic he didn't bother to move when I went right up to him. Now, he was a very large wallaby, definitely not a medium, and probably weighed around 45 kilos, more than half my own body weight. I normally wouldn't do these rescues because I know it pushes my physical capabilities, so I gently maneuver him into the sack I had in my tub, tie it such with some cable ties, and pop him in the tub. Now, having grown up in the area in the Australian bush, I am very, very used to the sounds of the animals in the night, the scratching, movements, hissing, growling, etc. And since I had my head torch on the entire time, I could see where my feet were going. I was fine. You develop a sixth sense of sorts. I knew the sounds so well. I was a nighttime bush tour guide a few years ago before I got sick. And when I get a hair-raising feeling on the end of my back, I know something isn't right. Oops, that didn't... And when I get a hair-rising... on my hackles. KFC Man with the 2! Oh, that's a sweet little emoji. I didn't even know that existed in there. I want to see that anime. I want to see that anime. And Will Sharp, with another 20 big ones, says, I don't mean to be obsequious, but that man is eating the butter socks. Yeah, at this point, no, I welcome it. Yeah, you should just challenge me with lines to read, because I kind of, let's see, obsequious. I feel like I've definitely read the word before, but I can't quite recall the definition, but now I'm curious.
Obsequious.
Obsequious. Obedient or attentive to an excessive or servile degree. I don't mean to be... Oh, okay. But that man is eating the butter. Excuse me, I don't mean to be obsequious, but... Maybe this character in the story that we're about to read is probably sucking on some socks. And Patrick Luther. You guys are coming freaking big with these donations. Holy cow. This is like literally an insane night right now. It's with the $20 says Skinwalker or Alien Stories, please, and thank you. Just one. Well, shit, Patrick, I feel bad. I mean, I might be able to find something here for you, but I feel bad. But, you know, back in the day, I used to do like requests. You know what I mean? I used to do requests based on the donation, you know, given, but I started to find that it wasn't like an efficient amount of time, you know, spent in regards to like I would have to find the story, and then like I could never really guarantee that I had permission to read the story kind of thing, you know what I mean? So you always struggle with that process. But with this, I kind of like have the 7 stories that I'm going to read for the night, and I kind of Patrick Luther is a badass name. That is a badass name. But right now I'm kind of just focusing on these since these are the ones that are in the video. And but thank you for that. But possibly, just maybe, we might have something on the back burner here as a nightcapper. And when I get a hair-raising feeling on the back of my neck, I know something isn't right. And as sure, every hair on my body seemed to stand on end. I am on the balls of my feet, and I scan the surrounding area, thinking it might be a snake or a lost dog or something. Nothing. Confused, but still trusting my gut, I slowly start to travel back down the trail. The wallaby is too heavy. I have to stop every few meters and put it down to stop the tub from cutting my hands. Then, there was a large crack and movement to me on my rear left. I spin around and start internally freaking out. There was no animal sound I knew. Oops. Then there was a large crack and movement to my near left. Fuck, I don't know why this sentence is like weird. Patrick with the 2 says, it's okay, thank you though. Yeah, sorry about that, Pat. I do really appreciate it though. Thank you. Hopefully we can get some more alien stories compiled for a future video, because honestly those are some of my favorites along with the paranormal stuff. Then there was a large crack and movement to my rear left. I spin around and start internally freaking out. That was no animal sound I knew. It had to be a person. It was way, way too big, and there was a sudden silence, like whatever had made the noise had stopped or was stalking. I decided to just screw it. Pulled on my gloves, hoisted the wallaby over my back, turned off my light, and started booking it down the trail, sticking to the right side, just along the edge of the trees, leaving my tub behind. I doubt anyone would take it, and honestly, I was freaking out so much I couldn't care less. Luckily, it was mostly downhill, so I got out of there in maybe 20 minutes or so. Every now and then, I could hear a distinctive rustle or crunching of dead bark on the ground, and that was way too big for any animal in my area, let alone one that would follow a human. The entire time my instincts are screaming to run, run, run. I was gripping the bag over my shoulder for dear life and didn't even stop when my shoulder was screaming to stop and rest. I made it out and down several streets, well into the tight-knit neighborhood and into the light before I dared stop. I couldn't bring myself to look over my shoulder. I could feel someone watching me. I started to cry as I made my way home only a few streets away. I told my mom, and she looked very worried and lightly scolded me for going out like that, even though we have both done this kind of thing before. I called up my best friend and she came over for the night and to come with me to try and find my rescued tub with me the next... I called up my best friend and she came over for the night and to come with me to try and find my rescued tub with me the next day. This morning another rescuer came to take the sick Roo to the vet, and me and Risa went back up to the bush. We found it. The heavy-duty plastic tub had been smashed up, like something kept jumping on it. It was half intact. There were butts of what I could only assume were rolled-up cigarettes and a needle, empty on the ground. I just silently picked up my broken tub and threw it away when I got home. I don't think I will ever be going out at night for a long, long while. Willow Mac with the 10 says, this is from my friend who also says they can't live or sleep without your stories. Thank you. That's so cool. I appreciate, honestly, I really do appreciate lately the impactfulness of having something you can listen to that will help you drift off into La La Land. So I appreciate to even be kind of, I guess you could say, honored to be that thing, that person for you, the voice. Because recently I've been listening to this ASMR channel called, and I've told people this before, but the French Whisperer ASMR. And, you know, normally I'm able to fall asleep if I listen to something, but after listening to his sort of videos where he just kind of like discusses in-depth information about kind of relatively obscure things, it just sort of it just allows my mind to drift off like so much faster. And then it's weird because it kind of set almost like a precedent for what I can listen to and fall asleep to, because I used to listen to like people talking about very like sort of heavy things, and now I almost feel as if though that it don't quite hit the same. It don't quite hit the same, Mr. Nook. Stimulate me, daddy. Oh yeah, the stimulus. Yeah, everybody was saying they've been getting them checks. Hopefully it's helping people out here during this time of cray-crayness. Chronic insomnia. Yeah, honestly, now that I haven't really been able to work out, my terrible sleep has gotten worse, and I didn't realize how much I relied on regular exercise to kind of knock me out, or at least later in the night. And I would highly recommend that if you can get at least 30 to an hour of something a day, you know what I mean? It definitely would get all that excess energy out of you that might kind of enhance anxiety. Okay, so we are moving on to the next story. This one's called My Best Friend's Boss. You know what kind of helps me when I wake up? Sometimes I wake up and I feel like I can't quite get up, or I just don't feel quite right, or maybe I'm like lightheaded or something. But like I recently got like water bottles for drinking, and I'll just wake up and just chug an entire one of those. And something about just getting a shit ton of water in your body, or just a good amount of water in your body, like right out the gate, I feel like it's water. That is to say, a conduit for my body, for the transmission of nutrients and electricity. Truly a miracle. Alex E with the 2 says, Bawals. Hell yeah, brother, bawals. That's what I'm talking about. Boa. And Dan's Dailies with the 5 says, thank you for something to listen to while I work all night. What are you working on, Mr. Dan? Is another daily? When I hear dailies, I think of like daily quests. Dan's doing his daily quests. I had just finished high school and had recently turned 18 when all of this occurred. I was looking forward to starting university and was going to be moving. Stylist G12 with the 2 buckaroo says, have you read any Skinwalker Stories playlist? I definitely had. I don't know if you most people might be aware that you can be on my YouTube channel, and then there's on the way right, on the top sort of right, I guess, underneath the banner image, there's a little search magnifying glass, and you can click that and you can probably type in whatever keyword and you'll be able to find if my channel has something that you're looking for. Oh, we were at 420 viewers. Nice. Isn't this whole month 420, dudes? My dudes. You're super hungry but don't know what to eat. What are you in the mood for? I was looking forward to starting university and was going to be moving out of my parents' house into student housing closer to campus. As a result, I started looking for a job closer to my residence. I found one about 5 minutes walk from where I was going to be living, and it was perfect for me. I was to be a barista in a tiny little coffee kiosk on one of the coolest streets in the city. This street was sort of known for having ladies of the night and other illicits. Ladies of the night. Joel the Stoner. Honestly, I'm not a stoner. I have a stoner personality as far as I like weird topics and weird things. People have told me whenever I do participate in the old marriage-a-ween that I say some pretty freaking cracked out funny shit. But the only thing that I struggle with whenever I get on the and I don't do it I haven't done it in a long time. But the only thing that I struggle with when I'm really in any sort of intoxicated state or not quite my sober mind is that I think too much. And those sort of existential dreads that I discussed earlier as far as my fears go, they sort of seep in to a degree in which it's not really healthy for me. You know what I mean? Because I'm already kind of like an overthinker, and I wouldn't say anxious per se, but just someone who considers too many things at one time, and sometimes I feel like that stuff can definitely help, but it also just sends me to a position that I'm usually just not preferring, I suppose. Alex E with the 2 says, give us your best impersonation of a tennis ball. Okay. How was that? Sometimes, I just, I like to imagine myself as a tennis ball. The street was sort of known for ladies of the night and certain illicit substances, but it was also super popular as it hosted some of the most interesting events and also contained some of the nicest thrift stores in the city. What was even more ideal about my new job was the fact that I worked right across from the road from my best friend. We'll call her Phoebe. At the time, Phoebe was in love with her job. She was actively being given more responsibilities, and she was being promised the world by her employers. Many of these promises turned out to be false at the time, but that's another story. During one of her shifts, Phoebe was approached by a man who had seemingly become a regular at the place that she was working. We'll call him Richard. He told her that if she ever wanted to leave her job, he had just become... Oh, I see. I see where that was going. Sometimes I lose track of where that sentence is going. I'm just like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? Where the fuck are they going? That creepy kid in the corner with the 2 buckaroonies is donating again because my first one disappeared. Oh, that's weird. I'm sorry. I hope it didn't, steal it from me or something weird like that. I apologize, but thank you, my creepy friend. Corn Dude, your cat loves my podcast. Thank you. Yeah, we got another podcast coming out on 4 days from now. Is 420, dudes. Nice, dude. Podcast out on 420. You kidding me? Are you freaking me, dude? Don't even freaking joke, guys. Spicy. Thank you, dude. I've noticed you. Enjoy it. Relish it. Savor it. Dan's Daily with the 5 says, I'm a wire plant. I'm at a wire plant putting in 12 hours every night. Our wire is used in building houses, buildings, and things like that. Interesting. Well, thank you for the 5. And that does sound is that I hope that's not too tactilely involved as far as your fingers go, because that sounds like some real, I don't know, I think of wires and I think twisting them for some reason and you get carpal tunnel or some shit from that. I remember in Florida recently, maybe quite a while ago actually, but there was this guy who did custom rolls for cigars or something, and he had wrist protection, unless he already had carpal tunnel, but I can imagine doing really minute movements like that for many years can definitely lead to some sort of buildup of inflammation within your wrists and cause compression on your nerves. So please do be careful if you are partaking in activities such as that. Zaftig Betty with the 5 says, still at work listening to your videos gets me through these long days. Thanks so much. Thank you. You're welcome. Can I teach your dog to sit? Actually, that was one of the first tricks I taught my dog, Spike, when I was about 7 years old, and I felt very proud of that. I have a picture that I just saw at Easter that I totally forgot about, but it's a classic pic of Let's Read as a boy, teaching Spike how to lift that paw, baby. Alex E. with the 10 buckaroonies says, you seem like a smart guy. Can you help me with the latest question from my underwater basket weaving exam? How can a house be a home, but a mouse can't be a mome? Shit, see, what it really comes down to when it comes to houses and homes and mouses and momes is that mouses have to exist within a home, but a house can't exist within a mome, or a mome can't necessarily exist without a house. So if you can find some sort of inverse correlate in the sort of brachial plexus of that nature, you should be able to derive the meaning pretty quickly. Alec Vega with the 2 says, donating again, being nice. I donated earlier. Thank you, Alec. Is it party time? Party time tonight? Do I still have Spike? No, so Spike, well, I guess if you want to hear a sad story, your dog's name is also Spike. That's cool. So Spike so this was bad. We got him in 97, and it was when I moved from my, first kid house to, my official, the town that I live in now, which is actually moving, even as a young kid to a new town, is kind of hard, you know what I mean? Because when I was, in first grade and kindergarten, I had friends. I had so many friends. But, the friends that I was with, who I ran with, we always played pretend, which was really weird. I mean, it's not, that weird, but what was weird was the transition from that school area and me wanting to play pretend all day to my new school, where all the kids were into like sports and activities, and I just really didn't care for sports because I was a fat little chub boy, and wasn't a fan of breathing very hard, And so that took a while. It took, in kids' terms, a week is a long time, but it took me like probably till fifth grade so like 3 years or more to develop some like out of school friendships, which is kind of sad. I remember me and my cousin rather, we would go to each other's houses for our birthdays, and I would literally count down the days to our birthdays in summertime because I would actually get to hang out, with some people or, him, outside of. So it was just like waiting a whole year to hang out with your best friend. It was really weird. Spent a lot of time alone as a kid, which is funny. But anyways, Spike was from 97, and then he passed away, I think, I guess, I think it had to have been towards the end of high school or something like that. I think he was a decent age. I don't even remember exactly how old he was, but I remember I was the one that actually found him because he was having some health issues, and I think he went down the steps, fell, and like broke his leg or something like that, and I found him in like a corner, like slowly passing away. But it was a pretty interesting experience because I just remember like putting my putting my hand on him and like praying for him, you know what I mean? And like in that moment he just like let out his like last breath. It was just like and I was just like, holy shit, dude, his dog soul just went to freaking Petco heaven, And but so that was sad. Spike was a funny character. He was very fat, and he used to hump things, but the way he would hump things was just really funny to watch. And then we had like a little hill out back that whenever his, I guess, butthole was itchy, he would like kind of like grind his butthole down the hill to like itch it. So that was always hilarious. But yeah, we had many dogs after that as well, so that was pretty cool. Dogs are the shit. Pets are the shit. Dogs rule. Cats rule too. Original Asherella with the 20 big ones says, make it rain, throw some glitter, make it rain on them. And anyone who has been playing Animal Crossing, DM me on Instagram so I can visit your town. I am starting a month behind. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I definitely, you got to play catch up. You might even have to potentially cheat by advancing your system's time forward so you can get to the next day. That was one thing that I was always frustrated with, is I felt like I had to kind of like wait around, and I was like, wait, I want to binge this game. I don't want to go outside. Are you kidding me? But it was kind of cool because like Spike was definitely my dad's dog, and I was close to him, but he always growled at me when I would come to his food, which was weird because we had him since he was a puppy. So it was just like, I don't think he respected me at all. But then whenever I started college, we got a Doberman named Jack, and Jack was so good, man. Like, Dobermans kind of get a bad rap, I think, a little bit like Rottweilers, but man, he was the freaking biggest baby of all time. And he would do this thing where he would like start to climb up on the chair and then start to wiggle his little nub of a tail. And he had floppy ears. We didn't do like the thing to his ears, but they crop their tails when they're real young. And then just climb up pretty much on your lap and lay on you and he was a big boy. And then he would also, like, if you'd be sleeping in bed, he would like claw at your kind of near your neck at your blanket, and then crawl all the way under your blanket to the bottom, which I never understood. I was like, dude, this guy's like breathing in like straight up farts and somehow is like in heaven right now. So Jack was the shit. But Dobermans have a lot of health issues, and unfortunately he probably only lived to be about 4 or 5. So he was my dog through college, which was nice. I didn't make sure I didn't miss any donos there. Yes, okay, we're all caught up, I do believe. For some reason, sometimes you think you're forgetting something and it's just like something lingering in your brain, and I recently had started to kind of like trust that instinct, and it's usually right for some reason. But I guess if I forget anything, just at me and let me know. Natalia, how are you? Cat Nation, baby. Fart heaven's real, bro. I've been there, bro. I've inhaled the gas. He told her that if she ever wanted to leave her job, he had just become the manager of a new restaurant a little ways down the road. Phoebe kindly denied his offer. He approached her several more times with the same offer before she recommended him our other close friend. We'll call her Mia. Mia was hesitant to take the position at first because she has a passionate hatred for hospitality and greatly prefers retail, but she needed the extra money at the time and she took the job. The day that Mia was signing her contract, Phoebe and I both finished work early at around 4. So we told Mia that we would meet her at her new job once we finished, and then we would go do something afterward. Phoebe and I went to the cake shop next door and sat outside her work while we waited for Mia. When they finished, Richard followed Mia outside to come say hi to Phoebe. The girls introduced him to me and conversation ensued. He seemed like a friendly guy, if not a little bit awkward. He was late 30s, early 40s, bird-like in appearance, quite shit. He was quite shit, and a bird. He shit like a bird. I saw a funny meme where it was like, local pigeon depressed, says he misses shitting on people, or something. It's really funny. Will Sharp with another 10 buckaroonie says, when I listen to Zydeco, I get the heebie-jeebies. What's Zydeco? What is that? What is that? I feel like I've heard of that, but I don't remember what it is. Can I borrow you want to borrow my toenail clippers, please and thanks? Sure. I just have my cat gnaw them off when they get real long, or I let them grow really, really long. So in case, like, if I'm in the back of a bus and like a donut rolls back there, I can just use my toenails to kind of like scrape it towards me like a rake. I don't even have to get up. Hopefully people will eat more donuts. Zaftig Betty with the 3 says, my hero. My hero. He's arrived. Music from Louisiana. Thank you, Zaftig. Thank you. He was late 40s, early 40s. Oh, fuck, sorry. He was late 40s, early 40s, too. He was late 30s, early 40s. Wait, I don't know why that keeps sounding weird. He was late 30s, early 40s, bird-like in appearance, quite short, balding, large in size, and seemed very greasy. As the conversation continued, I began to tease I don't remember if I called her Mia or Maya. I think Mia. Whatever. As the conversation continued, I began to tease Mia a little bit, as friends do. I saw no harm in it, as she was one of my best friends, and she had made a similar joke at my expense prior to this interaction. Richard's demeanor suddenly seemed to switch. He became somewhat chatty. Richard's demeanor suddenly seemed to switch. He became somewhat catty in defense of Mia. He retorted back that I was going to be mean to his staff, that... Sorry, I don't know why I'm like looking. He looked like a bird. Man, slurpy neck ass, man. This reminds me of one of those old episodes of Dexter where he finds a kid that survived on the school bus by letting his toenails grow and he grabbed lost. Yeah, that's exactly the episode I was referring to, so that's funny. I like to throw those out there, see who's boomer enough to pick up on that. Wink, wink. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Gerson Monroy with the 2 says, listening to you while doing my home workout. Nice, dude. Get freaking swole. Or get sweaty. Get swole and sweaty. Why don't you? Thank you, Gerson. That's a cool name. Gerson Monroy. It sounds almost Star Wars-esque. He retorted back that if I was going to be mean to his staff, that he would bar me from every store in the street we worked on. This seemed ridiculous, but he claimed to be friends with a security guard that worked on the street. I actually was friends with this man, and when I asked him about it, he told me he had never heard of Richard before. Richard said these things to me as though he was joking, but he was so persistent about it that I got incredibly uncomfortable and actually wanted to cry. It was from this interaction that he nicknamed me Trouble. I also feel it needs to be noted that he didn't scold Mia or... Fuck, I can't remember if I said Mia or Maya. I literally cannot. Darth Gerson. I also feel it needs to be noted that he didn't scold Mia or Phoebe at all for the same behavior. Phoebe sensed my discomfort and told them that we had to leave as we had plans. Flash forward a few weeks and Phoebe and I decide to go see Mia at work again. Richard intrudes on our conversation yet again, and again he singles me out from the group, teasing me and only referring to me as Trouble. This time I just play along as I can tell it isn't going to stop. He asks me if she is after another job as he needs someone to clean his home and lives all the way out where my parents and Mia live. Mia tells him she can't as she has too many responsibilities, but I tell him I might know a few people in the area that might do it, and I give him my phone number. Richard takes this as a sign that I have agreed to do it and begins texting me incessantly about setting up a meeting. This man is much older than me and lives alone in a rural area. Suddenly my instincts kick in and I try to get out of it by telling him I can't drive. He says he can pick me up from the nearest train station. I don't want to come across as impolite or have my best friend's boss resent her because of me, so I make the mistake of agreeing. However, I tell him that my sister will be helping me as she is looking for a part-time job and my dad will be dropping me off. I do this in order to have some backup and so that my dad knows my whereabouts. Richard goes on to complain about how I don't trust him and claims that his house is very small and the $100 he is going to pay me won't be enough to split. Whoops. It's funny, like sometimes as I'm reading, I'll like my mind, even though I'm reading, my mind like goes elsewhere, and I just like I was thinking about how this girl like told like kind of made up like an excuse or whatever to get out of a certain situation, and then all of a sudden my mind is like flooded with like times in which girls have made up an excuse or just like made up some random ass shit to not hang out with me, or like due to my awkward advances. It's just funny as shit. Charles with the 2 says, I am in love with you. Thank you, Charles. My grandfather's name was Charles. I know quite a few Charles, actually, Charles is a good old name there you got there. Thank you, sir. Maya with the 10-6. Gotta get going. Stay healthy and get some rest if you can. Love you. By the way, you pronounced it as Mia at first. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think now I'm saying Maya. Fuck. Well, it hopefully doesn't kill the immersion for some people, but I think it will keep people. It will make them leave comments and engagement. But thank you, Maya. Hope you have a good night. You stay healthy as well, and love you. Stay golden, pony girl. We are full of excuses. No, I mean, I don't blame girls. I mean, like, Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that, like, it's just part of, like, I think there's a combination with guys where it's, like, it's the sex drive, that is motivating a lot of people's sort of subconscious evolutionary actions they don't even realize. But then also, due in part to that's generated a lot of the culture in which guys kind of feel some sort of, like, unsaid pressure where it's like, well, I'm feeling a mild certain sense of way towards this girl. I better completely throw myself awkwardly out there in hopes that she'll respond positively. You know what I mean? And it definitely, I think it's just a natural part of life. Girls rejecting guys. It's just a statistical process. But I think a lot of guys don't deal super well with rejection in regards to their self-confidence, you know what I mean? And which in some regards almost makes me wish that girls were more honest with guys in the same way that guys are more honest with guys about stuff, where they're just like, ew, dude, you fucking smell. Get away from me. You know what I mean? Like, simp, yeah. Simping hard on that one. Simply amazing. But rejection, I think, is, it's just a process. And I think girls have gotten used to that process as well, as long as that rejection, it doesn't turn into what obviously this story is going to turn into. And fortunately, I have not turned into a freaky murderous stalker thus far, so I think I'm doing pretty good. You get rejected all the time. Nah, it's it's just good. It's a learning experience. It's like being, it's like skateboarding or some shit. Like you try a kickflip 1,000 fucking times and you scrape your knee. Eventually, like a scraped knee doesn't feel like shit. It's just like, oh yeah, my knees are constantly scraped because I just am learning tricks all the time. And then eventually it's a game. Literally, that's what I call it. Like, what's his game? He's got game, because that's how fucking it works. Alex E with the 2 says, give us your best DMX impersonation, please. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Where, my hood. Morty, where the hood at? Morty. Morty. Where the hood? Morty. I don't know, Rick. I don't know where the hood is, Rick. I don't know. Morty. Ugh. Richard goes on to complain about how I don't trust him. And wait, fuck, did I skip a line? I think I skipped a line. Does Joel have a Discord? I do have a Discord. Natalia's here. She could link you to it. It's also linked down below, I believe, unless the link is expired. I never can tell. But good people in that Discord. Sound like I'm trying to go number 2. Hell yeah. I may have gone a little bit in my undie pants. D Shore with the 10 says everyone has a... I can't see what that is. Is that a plane or a bird? Everyone have a wait, what is that? Oh, I see. It's trying to say beautiful night. But for some reason I can't tell what creature that emoji is. My God, I'll have to get my forensic goggles out. But thank you, D Shore. I hope you have a beautiful night as well. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Noah R says, hey, Joel, VidCon fireplace, bud. Noah, can you tell me what you look like? Just here at me and tell me what you look like, because I remember you and it was fun. It was cool, man. Like, I thought, dude, that was one of my favorite parts about VidCon. It was like going to you're pursuing creative endeavors and you go to a place and you meet other people with similar perspectives and similar goals, and it was just so cool. It was literally so freaking cool. Princess Azula with a 2 says, greetings from Puerto Rico. I was in Puerto Rico I was in March 2017, and we were helping a nice little lady named Maria recoup her destroyed shed from the Hurricane Maria. She was very sad about the fact that they named the hurricane after her. But then, and then she knocked all of us down with one single breath. No, she was so nice. It was a really cool experience, honestly. And Puerto Rico's it's beautiful. It actually reminds me a lot of, I would say, certain locations down in the South, as far as like infrastructure goes and stuff like that. Brittany, you are sewing and hanging with the dog. Oh, heck yeah. That's funny. We were just talking about doing the meticulous movements with your hands and being careful about, acquiring scratchy quality mic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, it really picks everything up, doesn't it? I have to be careful. But a little bit, particular movements with the like really small, minute things to make sure you don't get carpal tunnel. Maybe I've seen like compression gloves that you can get that can help protect against that, as kind of counterintuitive as it sounds to compression of the nerve versus like wearing compression gloves. But I think it has something to do with like blood flow and maintaining sort of some sort of tension there that helps like things flow easier. I'm not really sure, but please stay safe while sewing. Kim Z with the 5 says, you ever thought about doing Glitch in the Matrix stories? I actually have probably about 3 or 4 videos related to Glitch in the Matrix stories. If you go to the little search bar on the channel and type in Glitch, it should come up. There should be quite a few, and I think they end up getting kind of like thrown into the paranormal stories playlist. Oh yeah, if you guys do get merch, definitely send some selfies either over on the Discord, or over DM, whatever you guys want to do. Email it, and I need to, people who had taken pictures with the merch. I need to get more of those to send if anybody has any, or to like post on Instagram. It's so dangerous. Wink, wink. Death funny. Shit, I have to remember where I was. However, I tell my sister, I don't want to come across impolite. Yeah, girls are so afraid to come across as impolite. Like, just be impolite. Be impolite. A man is like, men don't pick up on nuance. Like, I do, but like, sometimes. But it takes a while to learn that, you know what I mean? Whereas like girls pick up on nuance from the time they're like literally born, you know what I mean? Where they read body language and they read energies and crystals and zoology, all that shit. I'm just kidding. But like a guy is a lot more like on the nose. He is an observer of his environments very matter-of-factly. So like all these stories, they all literally could have been solved within the first 5 minutes, most likely, if the girl was just like, maybe you should go fuck yourself, sir, or something like that. And then he would say, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't really like you and you're creepy, And I think if you really nip it in the bud early with a man, you can save yourself quite a bit of trouble. Maybe not be that rude, but you catch my vibe, dude. You catch my nightmare dreams. What up? What up? Not necessarily so. I don't want to come across as impolite or have my best friend's boss resent her. This doesn't sound familiar. Like, Richard takes a sign that I have agreed to do it and begins texting me. Oh, okay, yeah, this is where I want to start. I don't know, it sounds so weird. This man is much older than me and lives alone in a rural area. Suddenly my instincts kick in, and I try to get out of it by telling him I can't drive. He says he can pick me up from the nearest train station. I don't want to come across as impolite or have my best friend's boss resent her because of me, so I make the mistake of agreeing. However, I tell him that my sister will be helping me as she is looking for a part-time job and my dad will be dropping me off. I do this in order to have some backup and so that my dad knows my whereabouts. Richard goes on to complain about how I don't trust him and claims that his house is very small and the $100 he's going to pay me won't be enough to split with my sister. I tell him that I just want to provide her with work experience, and finally he agrees, asking how old she is, my sister being 17. Richard and I finally find a time that I'm not working a schedule. Oops. I gotta lay off the smoke. Am I thinking too much? Ooh, bruh. This chatty is much fun. Nice. Yeah, there's good people in chat. You know what's so stupid, though? If you go into a Twitch chat, even a Twitch chat with, like, this many people, like 500 people, it's pretty chill. Like, this is actually way more active than, like, most 500 people Twitch chats. But, like, dude, like, I know the guy's busy, the person's busy with, like, playing video games and is distracted and stuff. But like people in Twitch chat, like it's just like weaponized spam. Like it's insane. Like nobody really has a conversation with each other. It's just flooding. Like it's literally there to kind of give people something to participate in without the streamer really like interacting with the audience at all or reading the chat, or like he can barely like keep up with it. Has to keep it in like slow mode or subscriber mode or some shit. And most of the time, like you can be even in like a Twitch chat with like 200 viewers or something, and they'll just ignore what you say. I mean, I'm not trying to ignore you guys or anything like that, but obviously, but where it's just dead, and like I almost feel like, having like even one comment in their stream would, you'd think they would easily be able to communicate, with you, but then they don't, which is quite strange. So I don't know, something about video game streams, like it's not quite as personal as I feel like something kind of like different, than like this. AKA I'm the best. Hee 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 hee. What's up, Brandy? Welcome. Yeah, where's the sex bots? You remember those? I wonder if YouTube fixed those or what. We're trying to get to 700 viewers. That would be sick. Dude, I really want to get back to... One time we had 1.2K. That was fucking legit. I would love to get back up there. You want a Beyond Burger. Richard and I finally find a time that I'm not working to schedule a meeting. This meeting is held at his place of work, and I feel a lot more comfortable sitting in the main restaurant surrounded by people, as I thought he was going to hold the meeting in an office. We begin talking about the responsibilities of the job. He tells me it'll be basic things like tidying up, vacuuming, the usual. I agree. He then goes on to tell me he will also be expecting me to do his laundry. I think this is a bit odd, as he is only paying a small amount for such a large job. He assures me his house is small and not that messy, but continuously claims it just needs a woman's touch. I nod and ignore the fact that this grown man thinks that just because he is a man, it means he doesn't need to know how to maintain his own home. Now, this is where things start to get creepy. Near the end of the meeting, he asks me again how old my sister is, and when I say 17, his face drops. He then starts telling me about how he previously posted this ad on Craigslist, and this 60-year-old woman replied offering to do it in lingerie. He tells me how he didn't ask for that, and... Wait, what? You get weird sex bots comments in your videos. That's... Yeah, I don't know where they come from. I guess they're all just like some sort of phishing. The sex bots have been quarantined. They are the true coronavirus. And oop. Alexa, kick Fry from the chat. No, don't kick Fry. Fry's a good boy. That'd be funny if you can control it with Alexa. Mammy, welcome. He tells me he didn't even ask for that in the ad. He tells me he didn't even ask for that in the ad, but she offered and he was put off completely. He then proceeds to tell me that he would be willing to pay more to someone between the ages of 18 to 30 if they were willing to do that, but he would never request that because he's not a pervert. I call him out on this and tell him then and there that the meeting is done and I have to go meet Phoebe. He asks me if he made me uncomfortable. Obviously. But I just say no and that I'll get back to him. This strange man, who I've only met 3 times, then attempts to hug me 3 times. I met him 3 times. This strange man, who I've only met 3 times, then attempts to hug me, but I ignore the gesture and awkwardly wave goodbye for less than... Man, I am screwing up here. This strange man, who I've only met 3 times, then attempts to hug me, but I ignore the gesture and awkwardly wave goodbye from less than 3 feet away. I book it down the street to Phoebe's work and tell her the whole story. She tells me I can't do it, and I tell her I know, but I don't know how to tell them that without risking my own safety or Mia's job. Fortunately, Richard gives me the perfect out. He texts me later that afternoon telling me he hopes I'm okay with cats because he has a small one. I see this as the perfect opportunity and lie to him. I see this as the perfect opportunity and lie and tell him that my sister and I are both deathly allergic to cats and neither of us will be open to doing the job. Richard accepts this reasoning after a little persuasion, and I think I'm finally done with him. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Richard proceeds to text me every day asking if I'm mad at him or if he made me uncomfortable, asking me how my day was, etc. Just behaving like a preteen in a new relationship, basically, and the more I ignored him, the more he texted. I finally blocked him on March of 2019. Escapade. For some reason I couldn't read that. It was like, escapede? Escapede? This escapede. Mammy, thank you. Cats are a bit freaky. Oh, my cat's pretty chill. He's a good boy, even though he loves. It's really funny, actually. Like, when I turn off, like, I go to the kitchen, turn on the kitchen light, get some whatever drink or something, and go back down the hall. Like, I can feel him. I can literally feel his eyes on me, like, getting ready to, like, chase after my ankles, because I feel like it's just, like, built into every cat ever that if you turn your back on them and walk away, that they just have to kill you. Oh, my owner's walking, who feeds me and, loves me and grooms me and then I cuddle up with all the time. I think I should kill him. He turned his back on me. That's very disrespectful. I finally blocked him on March. I finally blocked him in March of 2019. This escapade had began 4 or 5 months prior to this. The blocking still didn't stop him, though. Mia informed me that Richard was no longer going to be working there, as he had to go for surgery and we wouldn't have to see him anymore. See, Richard hadn't only been harassing me, but Mia and Phoebe too, just to a lesser extent. One Saturday morning, while I was working, setting up at around 7:45 a.m., Richard showed up at my work. The divider was down as we were closed, so he came and stood in the doorway, the only exit I had available to me at the time. He started asking me why I was ignoring him and telling me about his surgery. I told him he wasn't allowed to stand there as it was a fire exit, but he didn't budge. Fortunately, my boss showed up shortly after and told Richard he was going to phone the security if he didn't move. Recognizing the sheer look of fear on my face, my boss was kind of a jerk on most days, but by God was I grateful for him that morning. Roughly a month after that experience, I thought Richard would be gone from my life. I was living in my new apartment. Mia was around all the time and loved her job without Richard there. Things were going well for us. One morning after a night of drinking, me and the flatmates became peckish. I decided to order us some greasy food on a food delivery app. Lo and behold, who was our delivery driver other than Richard? I turn to my boyfriend at the time and tell him he has to go collect the food. He doesn't understand, but Mia assures him it's important. He agrees and goes out to collect it. Richard is not driving the vehicle. He claims to be driving on the app and... Wait, what? Richard is not driving the vehicle. Zaftig Betty with a 2 says, just because it's been a minute since I've seen a donation. Excuse me. Choked on my spit there. Australian accents have evolved from UK Cockney accent. Ah, interesting. It is interesting where accents come from, and just like there's so many nuanced accents from everywhere. People kind of talk about like, I don't know, I think about like the United States, and it's like, even where I'm at, like the central rural areas of the state have a, distinct accent compared to just where, my specific like little college area as well. You know what I mean? Like it's quite odd. My accent, I suppose you could say, is relatively neutral. But then, yeah, you go anywhere. You go to like Long Island, Queens. You go to the Bronx. You go to Boston. You go down south. I feel like accents differentiate even between different southern states, even though they have a certain twang to them that they refer to. Or you go out west, you go to Texas. It's just interesting. Like you just minor movements create differences in people's accents. And the interesting part about accents that I find cool is that, like, when I hear accents, I just like immediately want to mimic them. So you can imagine if, like, what if you were the individual who, like, developed the accent for an area just because you talk that way and people heard you all the time. They just were like, oh, well, everybody talks like that, and I just kind of want to talk like that too. You forced yourself to stop having a southern accent. Was it easy or was it difficult to do that? Because I feel like it'd be kind of hard, and I thought it was funny because I knew this one girl in the past, and whenever I would talk to her, she lived in the UK for a period of time, and then, but she was from, where I am now, and, at just random times, like a certain British accent would come out in her out of nowhere, you know what I mean? And she just said it was just from years of being around people like that, and eventually she just like really picked up on it strong. Robin Smith with the 20 big ones says, "Hi Joel, thank you so much for doing another live stream so quickly. I love your channel and hope you're doing well." Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Of course, yes. I'm happy I was able to do a stream tonight as well. We're rolling right along. Still in story 2, but that's because I'm just jibber jabbering. Your southern comes out when you're tired or drunk. That's funny. I like that. Weston forced himself upon himself. You like the proper English accent? They sound very posh. Very posh. Made you yawn. Haha. Haha, you're tired now. Now you gotta go to bed. Richard is not driving the vehicle. He claims to be driving on... Oh, I see. This sounded so weird when I read it initially. Richard is not driving the vehicle. He claims to be driving on the app, and at first we're confused, as the number plate is also different. Mia and I watch from his bedroom window, and the intersection takes much longer than expected. He comes back, and we ask what took him so long. He tells us that Richard refused to give him the food until he could prove that he was my boyfriend. He recognized my name from the app, and now he knew where we lived. Me and I tell my flatmates the story of what happened, and we all agreed it's a good idea to go to my RA. The RA reports it to upper management, and they say they can't really do anything about it, but if he comes in again, to call their security. A few months go by, and there was no Richard sightings until I order from the same app again. Yet again, Richard is our driver, and yet again in a different car. I send my boyfriend to go collect the food again and report the incident to my RA again in the food delivery app. I know I was stupid in not immediately reporting it to campus security, as I had much more proof of the creepy behavior than he had of his innocence, but I was naive and I didn't want my parents to find out at the time. Fortunately, I haven't seen Richard since then, and for future reference, Richard... Oh, whoops. Yeah, we'll just end on the other one. Fortunately, I haven't seen Richard since then. Oh, Wooder. Yeah, sometimes people around here are like, Jersey area, they say Wooder. Yeah, where you get some Wooder. Well, the other part of the accent, not really, but Wooder. And people around here say warsh. You gotta wash your clothes, like the more country folk. Especially, maybe not so much the younger country folk, but the older ones, the boomer daddies. They're funny. I love it though. It's so, they have different sayings like, yeah, I went down to Bickle Surplus store, so I did, and we got caught up talking to Jerry, so I did, and yeah, it was it was, we talked about washing the water, so I did. Southern comes out at random times. Shopping carts. Transition noise. Yeah, I know. I need to just have that on a hotkey I can press. I have a sexy voice, thank you. Thank you. You're from West Virginia, so Irish, Scot, and Cherokee, so lucky it's even English at all. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, everybody from America's got something. I mean, if you looked at our DNA, I'm sure there's a wide diversity. Even if, people want to categorize someone as whatever color, or ethnicity or whatever you want to say, I'm sure there's way more diversity in people than they realize if they were do, sort of genetic testing, especially in the melting pot. Oh, the Mennonites. Yeah. There's a Mennonite store around here, and I always thought like everyone that worked at that restaurant, the Mennonite restaurant, that they were all Mennonite, but I realized that it's just owned by Mennonites, and the people that work there are just forced to wear the Mennonite outfits. So I always kind of like communicated with them as if though I expected them to not, that if I took their picture that I'd steal their soul or something like that, but then I realized that they were most likely college students. Appalachian, Virginia, so I'm Scottish, Irish, German, a very small amount of African and Cherokee. Interesting, yeah. Pretty wild. This is a story that's really been bothering me lately for absolutely no reason whatsoever. But a few months back, I just had this dream that brought back this memory I tried to suppress growing up. But as of recently, it's been weighing on my mind. Growing up in 2015. Ha ye. Ye, and I cannot express this enough. Ha. How do you donate? How do you donate, guys? I believe it's where you can type in something. There's might be a little $sign or something there, but obviously don't feel inclined to donate. Just happy you're here. Growing up in 2005 on the edge of the suburbs, there was a large grove of trees and hills by some railroad tracks that led to a big forest about half a mile from my house. When I was 9 years old, me and my neighborhood friends would ride bikes to the railroad tracks and walk to the forest to go explore the random pieces of furniture and junk in this peculiar forest. We play card games, do homework, and hang with friends out there for about an hour or two, but never sat out there for too long. There were small abandoned houses here and there in this forest that we stayed away from, as one neighborhood friend, Michael, told me that there was a homeless man who lived in one of them, and if you saw him, to be sure to run. So right off the bat, after hearing this, going near this house in the woods was scary as could be. One chilly thing. Ole. Whoa, is that emoji a dab? That's sick. Where'd you get a dab emoji? The fuck? What the fuck? Did I add that? That's sick. One chilly November afternoon after school, I came home and dropped off my backpack at my house and immediately went to the woods. My bike was broken, so I walked. Michael had told me at school that day to meet him in this open area of the forest to play Pokemon with him. This was something we'd frequently do growing up, just to pass the time until our parents got home at 4 p.m., so it was nothing unusual. As I crossed the railroad tracks into the forest, I instantly felt a weird sensation, that feeling you feel when someone is watching you. I looked all around and couldn't see anyone, so thought I was just getting spooked, as the rather overcast day was very eerie anyway. Trekking through the autumn leaves scattered across this large wooded area, I came upon the big open area where I was supposed to meet Michael. Near the area where we normally met was his notebook, open. On the page was written, "Hey, I had to go back home and grab some batteries for my Game Boy. Wait for me here, I'll be back soon. Michael." And so I waited. Being alone, especially feeling like someone was watching me, made this particular moment very uncomfortable. However, I convinced myself I was just being a wuss and decided to wait for Michael. I sat down and began playing my Game Boy. It wasn't too long until that sensation of being watched grew into utter paranoia. I kept frantically looking up from my Game Boy and checking my watch to see how long I'd been waiting. I'd been sitting there for 30 minutes. It was beginning to get dark. Then, I heard some leaves crunch. I looked in the direction of the sound and briefly saw... Oops. You're allowed to self-promote. If you're typing it into the chat, probably not the best idea, but if you were to donate or something, like you said, you might. I'm not gonna, penalize you for, obviously being generous. But it appears you make animations, Hayes. Is that the case? I'd like to, if you want to email me some of those animations or your YouTube channel or something, I'd like to take a pizzeek. Did you miss any beard scratchies? I can give you some here. Throat queefs. Many, many throat queefs. It wasn't too long until that sensation of being watched grew into paranoia. Then the leaves crunched. Then I heard some leaves crunch. I looked in the direction of the sound and briefly saw a dark hooded figure peeking from behind a few trees, hidden back behind them. My skin crawled, and I immediately jumped up from where I was sitting and froze in my tracks, staring. I screamed hello to see if anyone was there. I was quickly reminded I wasn't alone when I saw this tall, dirty-looking hooded man peek back around from the trees. He called back, "Hey, buddy." I picked up Michael's notebook and ran for my life. I ran so fast I barely had time to look behind me, however. Oops. I ran so fast I barely had time to look behind me. However, I heard leaves crunching not too far behind me, and it was the man running after me. He was screaming for me to come back, and I just wanted to talk to you. I'm sorry. I began crying as I was running, thinking this was exactly how those missing kids. Jessica Arnett with the 5 says, "I love your channel. Thanks for uploading so much. Keeps me entertained while cleaning the house." You're welcome, Jessica. Thank you so much for the 5. And Cool V38 with the 2 says, "Love your vids, dude. Keep it up." Thank you, Cool V. I shall do my best. You guys are keeping it up. I began crying as I was running, thinking this was exactly how those missing kids disappear. Shit, I had a bit of a squeaky voice. Crystal Wickland with the 10 buckaroo says, "Thanks for always making my days with these stories." You're welcome, Crystal. Thank you. Hannah, you got an important question. What is your important question? I am all ears. Also, I'm going to be reading this, so if I miss it, just at me so I don't miss it. Malia, you're listening from the bathtub. Nice. You just started animating, doesn't get enough views maybe because it's not good. Well, if you just started animating, you know what I mean? That just means that it's going to take time, And you got to compare yourself to others to let you know, at what skill level you're at, you know what I mean? Can't force it. Especially animating, it's pretty much like getting good at drawing, but doing it over and over and over and over and over again until you literally create a moving story. It's crazy. I began crying as I was running, thinking this was exactly how those missing kids disappear. I ran and ran until I literally tripped over the railroad tracks and cut up my knees. Michael was just getting to the railroad tracks. He saw me, dirty and bloody and crying hysterically, and I screamed at him to run. Without question, we ran all the way home. The hooded man was nowhere to be seen once we left the railroad tracks. I last saw him standing in the woods, defeated that he couldn't catch me or something. I had no idea what was going through his mind. I told Michael everything, and we never went back to the woods ever again. Years later, in 2016, they bulldozed the woods and built a neighborhood there. We later found out from fellow neighbors who were in the area the same thing happened to them growing up. To this day, this is probably one of the scariest stories I've ever had growing up. Only 92 people like the vid. Well, those are rookie numbers. We gotta pump those numbers up, baby. Give me them likies, baby. Come on, baby, let's go. Everybody was grooving. Hannah says, lol, I can't tag you properly, but are you planning on stopping this channel anytime soon, or do you want to keep going? I would love to. I have no plan on stopping this channel, my friend. There is no plan to stop the channel. Yeah, I want to keep going as long as I can. Keep the podcast going as long as I can. That's, the podcast is something that's given me hope that it's that we're in it for the long haul. Cut down the woods, climate change, hello. What? I think he cut it down for to build houses or real estate or free real estate. What's my favorite stories to read? I really like the paranormal stuff and just like the weird shit, you know what I mean? Because like obviously a lot of these stories are kind of like coming from a lot of perspectives of like girls or like young kids and the kind of thing. And obviously as a male myself, like I definitely could for sure find myself in a precarious situation, but being not necessarily in the common demographic of that, I don't necessarily relate to them the same way. So like with the paranormal stuff, it just kind of tickles my fancy, I suppose, in a more natural sense. Tiffany, thank you. Love you too. Live for the Spotify podcast. Nice, yeah. I gotta figure out how to get them to Pandora. I'm gonna have to ask my podcast distributor if they can do Pandora, because I heard some people use Pandora for podcasts. And what service do you guys use for podcasts? It's like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, those are the big ones, but then there's like Google Podcasts, all these kind of different things. Clarissa, thank you. Nice. Yeah, those weird stories are the best. We're almost at 600 people, which is sick. Save Dobby. Who's Dobby? Equals teddy bear? You're amazing. Whoa. Or by the way, maybe. I love your content. Also, save Dobby. I'm not sure who Dobby is. Lila, you have a question. What is your question, my friend? Try to at me if you can. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, So Stoned, Himalaya, Face Reveal. If you want to see my face, you will find it on the Discord, so go join the Discord in the Selfies channel. I am on Pandora? Oh, fuck yeah, dude. That's what I like to hear. Darkness Prevails does voice effects and stuff, and sometimes it gives me scary dreams. Uh-oh. Spooky dreamies. Alright, so this one's called My Fiend, Crazy Charles. Not quite a friend, a fiend. So I was a college student back in 2009, 2010. I can't remember the exact year, but I was introduced to a friend of an acquaintance while in the cafeteria one day. He was skinny, dark-skinned, wore glasses, and kind of looked like a nerd in a pretentious rich gangster kind of way. He usually wore button-up short-sleeve shirts tucked into pants with a belt. You'd probably have to meet him to get the image. The first thing he does after introducing himself to me and chatting a bit about random things such as our goals for the future, if I remember right, is try to inundate me with all kinds of information about the Jewish Torah and how all religion is basically fake. He told me all about how the Bible and other religious books were, I don't know if I want to say bastardized, because I can't say swear words, guys. I can say them in the streams. I just can't say them in the videos because I don't want to trigger YouTube. Captain Magic with the 2. Thank you. Says hey you. I love that meme of Spider-Man, like all the different Spider-Mans pointing at each other. It's just funny because people are saying it's like coronavirus, allergies, the normal flu. It's like they're all pointing at each other like, which one are you? Can't tell. Crystal with the 1 buckaroonie. Thank you. He told me all about how the Bible and other religious books were kind of knockoffs of this, and how the definitions changed the meanings of everything, mostly about the different names for God or the Lord, and how it pertained to different entities. I found him interesting, but at the time I was in an atheistic phase and wasn't at all interested, but it rubbed me wrong for some reason that I couldn't really explain. Almost like cognitive dissonance. Also, I forgot to mention that the very first thing he did was introduce himself under a false name from a nation, Judea, or something very similar. We exchanged numbers and talked. One of the first things I noticed about this guy was how controlling and kind of manipulative he was. He would say things like, if you want to be my friend, you gotta be this sort of way, or you can eat certain foods because our way of life forbids it, or you can't eat certain foods. Sorry. Juan Zombie, what up, dude? With the 2 says, hi, Dad. Hello, son. How are you? How's your, how's that perfect spiral coming along that I taught you? Yeah, where's Jensen at? What's he doing? It was kind of cool. Jensen said that last time I pointed everyone towards his stream that 60 people subscribed, so thank you guys for subscribing to our friend Jensen. He is a good man and a good narrator and a very funny fellow. Hayes, listen, my friend, and whenever you, when you, in the chat, just so everyone knows, I know you might be young or something like that, but whenever you put, subscribe to me in the chat, YouTube automatically blocks that, so self-promotion in here it just gets automatically blocked, you know what I mean? So... and it comes off as spam, you're spamming, so don't spam, my dude. It's cringy. Now you're just, it's gonna automatically time you out if you continue to do it, I do believe, or one of the mods will, so don't be a spammy boy. He would say things like, if you want to be my friend, you've got to be this sort of way, or you can't eat certain foods because our way of life forbids it. He really wanted me on board with his religious thing for some reason. He would offer advice and help about things too, like romantic problems. He would end up being the first person I ever truly got drunk with, which was ironically a fun time. One of the things I learned very on... Whoops. Spam tastes good, yeah. It's gonna get us through the corona apocalypse. One of the things I learned very early on about this guy was that when he wasn't harping on about religious rules and stuff like that, was that he was one of the funniest people I knew. He knew how to party, how to socially connect to people, and some conversations we had were very interesting, so we became the kind of friends that talk on the phone often. But one of the other things I noticed about him was he had this very creepy Jim Jones, Charles Manson kind of ability to make people listen to him and believe the things he told them. It was very unsettling. I was well aware of his propensity towards manipulation quite early on, but for some reason, I felt obligated to hang out with him until, of course, it became a sort of friendship. My strangest friendship ever, truly. Another creepy thing about him is that he would show up when I'd least expect or want him to. I would turn my head and he'd be there. I was always super careful not to talk about him very loudly because he would do this quite often. Once when I was talking with my mom, and I really didn't want to introduce him, but had to anyways. By then, I already knew he was a sociopath and a narcissist. He had no empathy for anyone at all and would stroke his own ego all day long. He was incredibly vain, too, and took all kinds of useless supplements for no apparent reason. When we were on the phone, he would tell me things about how the different names for God aforementioned were actually about aliens. He said humans were designed to mine for gold because it would make the aliens immortal. The story he would try to sell me on would change many times over the course of our friendship, depending on what he was into. It would go from Jewish to Jamaican, then to Egyptian, then to something else I can't quite remember. Sometimes it would have elements of spirituality in it, and others he would say that after we die, that's it. He'd talk about how beings lived in the sun and under the moon, and how light was fake and only dark light existed. Then, he'd talk about how I should put together all of my college loan money with his so we could buy a house near the beach and we could live it up down there. Like I'd fall for that. Anyways, we meet these girls and he wants to show me how easy college girls are. So he starts chatting up this girl and her friend who happens to... Oops. Alex E with the 2 says, no pressure, but fitting to change my diaper? Thank. Shit, let me see that thing. Let's get that poopy old... that poop holder off of you. That's what I used to say as a nurse. All right, let's get that poop holder off of you. And then I would just launch it against the window while the family was watching. It would splatter everywhere and they would just clap. It was, I don't know, it was different. Good life experience. Marie, you have your husband listen to me now too. That's awesome. It's a whole family affair. So he starts chatting up this girl and her friend who happens to be a lesbian. Their relationship is short-lived, and it's mostly because she said he had a temper and was too controlling. She's the one who told me his real name because she saw his ID card. So this guy gets the idea that he wants to end her life and her friend for humiliating him. Apparently the ex's friend mocked him or something. He said, "We don't let people do things like that to us and get away with it." So he starts shopping around for poisons, a gun, and a knife, anything to try to get his revenge. He talked other people into helping him get things. Jeez, went from 0 to 100 real quick. Juan Zombie with the 2 says, you flirted with your patients. Oh yes, very much so. Especially while cleaning up their incontinence. Hey, Javier Reyes has become a full-grown pizza. Thank you, Javier, and welcome. Everyone, give some love to Javier. I feel like the only reason I could pronounce that right is because that name was in Red Dead 2. Javier. Mr. Sweat says, video title idea, I saw what was behind the red curtain. What would that be about? Let me let my cat in real quick. He's banging his head off the door. Be right back. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. Kitty. Kitty cat. He's so nuts. Like, he just has to be. Like, and it's so weird because, like, he has to be in the room. And then he makes his rounds. And then he has to be out of the room. Like, it's just like he. Like, eventually he'll find a spot to lay down and just be there for hours, which is nice. But if you don't get him into that mode of, yeah, if you don't get him into that mode of just, like, chilling for a little bit. Now, like, he also has an obsession with licking plastic, which is really weird. And I have a bunch of, like, water bottles, like, container, below, kind of like below, and he's just licking it and just like which I can't let him do because the microphone will pick it up and it'll just sound terrible. Cheese bungen. Hey, no. Thank you for the 10, Cheese. You should just name your kid Cheese. That would be sick. Yeah, my cat. He falls asleep to my voice every night. Dude, he has to be involved. I just don't get it. Like, there's just this obsession. Like, when you're, like, I don't know. They know you're doing something, so they just, like, have to interrupt it. And then do everything possible to make something sound not good. Okay, sorry about that. He's just like, I don't know. He just won't stop. He will not stop. Especially, like, I'm going to just have to move the water bottles somewhere else, because if he just keeps licking it, it's going to be picked up. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, I actually do have to move them. Dude. What an annoyance. Sorry about that. Okay, alright, let's get back to these stories. And then it's like I move them over there, and he's like immediately attracted to go over there. It's like everything that could possibly be what you don't want him to do, he'll do. Just like built into cat's nature. Oh, that's something that's bad? I guess that's good, huh? Alright, screw it. Moving on. Sorry about that, guys. Anything to try to get his revenge. He talked other people into helping him get things too. So I see this getting out of hand, and the girl is a very nice girl, so I do the only thing I can and tell security. But I tell them to keep me anonymous because this guy's crazy and has said many things about wanting to be a gangster and wanting to hurt people. Well, those idiots mess that up and he ends up finding out about it. Why is it? I don't even know. 1 second, dude. I just had to Pradeep. He just doesn't stop licking. Charlie? Can I put Pradeep in here with you? Sorry, just like... Normally he just like... Normally he just chills, you know what I mean? But now it's like... He's got this like obsessive nature to just sit there and lick plastic, which... The mic is like super sensitive, so it's just like... Not the one that I'm talking into you guys, but... Yeah, Hayes, I get it, man. Like, just all, like, I get it. You want to self promote, blah, blah, blah. But, like, you gotta, the best way to grow is to make quality content. So just make quality content, get better at animating. Don't try to force your way into people's, spots. Don't try to blow up other people's spots with, attention seeking behavior. It's very cringy and unfun. And if you make quality animations, that's people will find it. They will find it. But just try to better yourself. Better yourself. That's all I can say. The mic picked up my roommate's name. Yeah, it's no big deal. Chuck's a good boy. So I see this getting out of hand, and the girl is a very nice girl, so I do the only thing I can and tell security. But I tell them to keep me anonymous because this guy is crazy and has said many things about wanting to be a gangster and wanting to hurt people. Well, those idiots mess that up, and he ends up finding out about it. I find out from a mutual friend at some point that this guy now wants to harm me. He had plans to do so, but it kind of seemed like some people either didn't come through for him or those friends weren't that into the idea. Anyway, we kind of sort of pseudo-bury the hatchet, although he did tell me many times that he could have did it himself, but he wouldn't do that because I'm his one and only true friend. I roll, but I don't doubt he would actually try to do it. I told him I was manipulated into telling on him. Long story. As you can tell, this story needn't be any longer, and I'm trying to just give the highlights and context. The things he said kept getting crazier and crazier, though, and if you tried to disagree with him, he would just get argumentative with tons of false facts or continue on. Some people actually bought this stuff and were kind of like disciples to him, but I just couldn't get behind blatant lies that a sociopath made up. At a later point, we decided to go to a beach town to hang out, get drunk, and have some fun. Whoops. Sorry. At a later point, we decided to go to a beach town to hang out, drink, and have some fun. Yes, I was tempting fate, but back then I didn't care so much about my life, and I really needed to get out and break free from being a shut-in that never did anything. So me, him, and 2 other friends went to this awesome college beach party town. It's only important to mention this because one of the friends he invited along was a guy with social... Oops. This guy tries to kill him and now they're hanging out again. We buried the hatchet after he tried to murder me. Dude, I need to go to a barber, man. This is... It should have been essential. Barbers. It's so stupid. Like, what it, like... This the limit... Dude, this whole freaking corona crap is such nonsense, man. Like, you go to a grocery store, everybody's fingering your freaking, apples that eventually you make it to, and it's just like, dude, I don't know. Like, none of it makes any sense. Like, you're telling me a grocery store and various other locations where people are just jam-packed together and eat off of different surfaces and stuff like that, or partake in. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, let's just get this on. Let's get this going, and I don't know. It's so ridiculous. Finger my apple. It's only important to mention this because, fuck. It's only important to mention this because one of the friends he invited along was a guy with social issues that he didn't actually know. The guy just had money and the other guy had a car. He used these guys as a means to an end. They weren't his friends, to my surprise. At one point, the guy with the car stands up in the middle of the night when the whole town goes dead. Our cell phones died, and a dealer was the only hope for a ride we could get. So the dealer requests we hold something for him in exchange for a ride while he goes to get his granny's car. Charles makes me put in my pocket. Fuck, sorry. Malia Midnight with a 5 says, I have a ton of supernatural and just weird stories for you if you want. Love your channel. Stay safe. Yeah, Malia, that would be cool. Definitely, either send them into the subreddit, reddit.com/r/letsreadofficial, or you can email it to letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com. And, yeah, send them in. We'll take a peeky. Charles makes me put it in my pocket after a bit. Looking back, the guy was doing everything he could to make me look even more suspicious. He had me wait in an alley. I can't remember why exactly. He said it was out of sight, but the dealer came back and said that what he was doing was messed up, and that I stuck out over there. Dude, what are they talking about? What does he have in his pocket? Our cell phones died, so the dealer requests we... Why are they meeting with a dealer? Did I miss something? We hold something for him in exchange for... I'll hold something for him in exchange for a ride. Okay. Submit and finger my apple. Simp my apple. Yeah, the storytime stories like that are on the Discord, they don't really ever get used for stories per se. Probably best to do it on the subreddit or email. Email. Gmail. Zmail. Eventually we leave. What the fuck is this guy talking about? I have no freaking idea where the story's going. Okay. I don't even know what the hell he had me with. Charles makes me put it in my pocket after a bit. Looking back, the guy was doing everything he could to make me look even more suspicious. He had me wait in an alley. I can't remember why exactly. He said it was out of sight, but the dealer came back and said that what he was doing was messed up and that I stuck out over there in the sort of shadowy area. Looking back, if a cop drove by, they'd have detained me on the spot and then have taken whatever off of me of my person and arrested me. Eventually we leave and Charles decides that we should just keep the stuff, and the dealer handed him... Eventually we leave and Charles decides that we should just keep the stuff the dealer handed him because he never came back anyway. So we were waiting by the gas station and this guy literally goes up to a police officer to ask for a ride. By this time, he had taken the stuff back and forced the other guy to hold on to it, but he had assumed that the socially awkward guy gave it back to me by then. I am sure he was trying to get me with that one at one point. Wait, my brain's fucking broken right now. I am sure he was trying to get me with that one at that point. Anyway, after we had made it back, things went back to how they usually go. If I haven't mentioned it, Charles was a womanizer. He didn't care who it was, he'd go for her. He'd get with women that I thought would be impossible for anyone at all to get with, like married teachers and devout churchgoers who were in committed relationships. But he also didn't seem to have standards. He just liked to ruin people's relationships and their lives. It kind of shattered my illusions of people at the time because it showed me that everyone could be manipulated into doing anything and that identity and personality didn't mean anything. I'm not sure, but I might have been depressed for a long time after that. There was this girl who was a pastures, what the fuck? Pastor. Why did he not write past? That's pretty funny. There was this girl who was a pastor's daughter, sort of pretty. She kept to herself mostly. Charles decided to go out with her at some point, and she entered this rebellious phase where she was sleeping around with everyone. She also didn't bathe or take care of herself. Apparently, Charles was her first. When I asked her if that was true, she proceeded to tell me. April L. with a 10 says, thank you for amazing stories to fall asleep to every night. Wishing you good rest and good health. Thank you, April. Thank you for the 10. Very generous of you. Thank you, thank you. When I asked her if that was true, she proceeded to tell me horror stories about how he was manipulative and abusive toward her. And one time during a fight, while they were walking back to campus, he tried to push her into traffic. This was told to me during a period of time he had left and gone somewhere for an internship. Thankfully, I thought, because I wasn't likely to see him again. Oops, that sounded weird. Thankfully, I thought, because I wasn't likely to see him again, at least not for a long time. I was wrong. He came back when I least expected it, and he was just as messed up as ever. I told him I thought a girl liked me once and expressed a desire to get with her. Just a random conversation that I didn't think would go anywhere. I just needed to work up the nerve to do it. Upon hearing this, he goes over to her, they talk. Next thing I know, they're in a relationship. This relationship lasts a few weeks, and for some reason, he's told her and everyone else that I'm his cousin. Suddenly they break up, and she's avoiding both him and me. To try to explain that I'm not like him... I try to explain that I'm not like him and that she doesn't need to be afraid of me, but she absolutely refuses to be around me. If I sit at the table all of our friends, except Charles, are at, she gets up and leaves. Someone asked her about it, and she told them that it was because Charles was my cousin and that he did horrible things to her when they were together. This scumbag did that stuff just because I liked her, and in a way, it was kind of my fault. A few years later, sorry, let me... pretending to be a mod. Now, people who are mods have a blue name with a little wrench next to their name, so that's pretty obvious who is or isn't a mod. Okay. Anyway, a few years later, circa 2012 or something, I have a new circle of friends. A guy named Ricky, another named Mike, and a girl named Karen. Ricky had a huge crush on Karen, but we all got along just fine. One day, Charles just shows up and tries to get Ricky to join us in our adventures, or whatever. I'm really just trying to find any excuse to distance myself at this point, but I guess at this junction in my life, I'm still way too shy to tell people off or not be afraid to speak up. This idiot has some plan to form our own gang or something, and one day he's trying to three-way call us. I badly wanted to tell Ricky that giving him his number was a terrible idea, but I didn't want to get shot or stabbed or anything. I didn't pick up the phone, and apparently they had a conversation. Later on, I'd find out that during their few weeks of friendship, Charles was trying to get Ricky in on a plan to lure me into a trap to hurt me. He had sold Ricky a lie originally that I liked Karen, and Ricky didn't seem to mind and said that he would step down. So Charles started spinning other lies. Ricky didn't go for any of it in the end, and we talked and had a long, healthy conversation about it. Ricky's still a good friend to this day. Eventually, Charles left, and the last I heard from him was some voicemail from 2015 or something. Hands down, the creepiest person I'd ever met, befriended, made an enemy of, and then had to play it cool with for years on end just to not end up dying, or worse. He never did admit his real name to me. He always introduced himself under false names to strangers, too. I think this story needs a lot more detail. A lot more detail. Gaming XR Plus with the 2 says, please shout me out. I absolutely love your videos. Thank you, Gaming XR. Shout out to you, my friend. What's poppin'? What's poppin', Slime? Slimer? And Jane A with the $1 with the black kitty. Thank you, Jane. How are you? A mod. A mod's just somebody, like a moderator. Basically, they exist within the chat to, like, if someone, gets out of hand, like the guy that was spamming stuff or, is saying bad shit, essentially, like, they can silence them or ban them or, all that good stuff. I think this story needs a lot more details, so feel free to ask any questions in the comments about things that didn't make any sense, and I'll do my best to fill in the gaps. I really wanted to keep this short and just go over all the creepy points about my friendship with Charles. Hey, see you, Jamie. Have a good night. Have a good night. Sleep well. Oh, fucking shit. Yeah, I still got, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I got 3 more to go here. Spam or profanity will not be tolerated. You have the power. How do you become a mod? I mean, mods right now are people that I've known for a while from either being here or like people from my Discord that I am familiar with. It's just like people I can trust to, you know, that are mature enough not to like abuse the power, but also like, you know, just are consistently around. Tyler Ratliff with the 5 says, this 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift is gonna kill me, but at least I have your live stream to keep me occupied. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you, Tyler. I hope you have a good shift. I know it's tough sometimes overnight, and that's a long shift, but I hope you were able to make it through, power through, and make that cheddar. Cash it. You get a ban, and you get a ban. Profanity police? Not really. I mean, like, obviously there's certain words that YouTube automatically blocks and stuff like that, but I mean, deep down in my heart of hearts, I could really give a poop less about words. All the nasty, nasty, evil words in this world. Don't say them. They're like daggers. They're like knives going deep into my ear holes. Lila, your cat says hi. Nice. It's disturbing to me, as I read the stories on this sub, how many experiences I've actually had worth sharing. They aren't as terrifying as most of the other stories I read, but they're enough to still make me shiver a little in hindsight. Bear with me if it gets long. I went to college straight out of high school, so my first weekend partying on a college campus was when I was 18. I remember hearing about this one frat house in particular being notorious for trying to I remember hearing about this one Frau house. Rarest form, what's good? Oh, the horror narration grab bag. Welcome. I remember hearing about this one frat house in particular that was notorious for trying to drug girls during their first few weeks I was there. It's horrible, but it seemed like everyone had a friend or knew someone who partied at that house and woke up with no memory of it. Now I recall that was my first weekend in a new city on a new campus. There was definitely more than one frat house, and I was with a decently large group of people. I felt safe. This group included me, a close friend from high school who was also my roommate, her boyfriend, his 3 roommates, also nice guys, and another 2 girlfriends from high school. There may have been more that joined later in the night or something, but this was like 4 years ago now, so bear with me. Now, we were stupid enough to still go out, partying from house to house. However, there was a limit to my stupidity. We all brought our own drinks. The guys had cans of beer loaded into a few backpacks, and the girls all had mixed drinks. Let's be honest, mostly liquor and some juice, in water bottles with screw caps. We kept them on us the whole time, something that was drilled into us, I think. Make your own drink and never set it down. One house we went to had a setup that, looking back, was incredibly sketchy. The party was mostly in the unfinished basement. It had a cool underground vibe. It was pretty packed and lit up by a few black lights or red lamps. The weird thing was the drinks. There was run room in a basement. Gonna go watch The Lion King. Oh, have fun. I haven't seen the new one, the remake. And sorry for yawning. My brain is shutting down hard. There was one room in this basement that had a doorway with no actual door and an opening next to the doorway that looked like a window. It reminded me of the window lunch ladies in middle school served food out of. Well, there were a couple of coolers in this room, but rather than being open to everyone, a small handful of dudes would just hand out beers out throughout that little window. There was one senior dude who latched onto me during this party. At first I didn't care. I was with my friends and wasn't trying to hook up with anybody, but I was willing to flirt and dance a little. Harmless, I thought. I sobered up a little bit when this guy, I'm going to name him Buzz, brings me a beer. It was already open. Now, luckily for me, I can't stand beer. I had my extremely strong screwdriver in my purse and didn't need a beer. Initially, that's why I didn't drink any. What pulled me out of my tipsy haze was when Buzz pipes up and goes, "Are you just going to hold that beer or are you going to drink it?" Right away, I was annoyed. Mind your own business, creep. Maybe I'm trying to pace myself. Then I started to question on a deeper level why he was in such a hurry for me to chug this beer he had brought me. I looked at the beer for a second and then handed it to him with a huge grin on my face. He puts his hand up and shook his head. I think he said something like, "Nah, that's yours." Well, now I'm definitely not going to drink this. Now I'm definitely not going to drink it. I didn't make a scene right away or jump to any obvious conclusions, but I started to watch a lot more closely. I made sure none of my friends were drinking the beer from the party. I think that I told them all that I felt weird about and we didn't need to leave, but please be careful here. I held the beer for a while, bringing it up to my face now and then gave the illusion that I was drinking it. Now, this guy followed me the rest of the night. We went to another party, he followed me there. We went to my friend's boyfriend's house, he followed us there. I went through periods of doubt. He was pretty good looking, and he was hitting it off with our group pretty well. But towards the end of the night, when he kept trying to get me in rooms alone to make out, I was sort of over it. My friend's boyfriend had to work the next morning, so he stayed sober enough to drive us back to the dorms. It ended up being him, my friend, and Buzz in the car. While we were waiting for everyone to get in the car, my friend's boyfriend turns to me in the back seat and lets me know Buzz told him he was coming back to the dorms with me. It was in the space of a minute, and I think I only had time to look confused and be like, no? During the car ride, it became apparent that my friend was riding along to make sure I got back all right, but she was going to stay at her boyfriend's house. When we pulled up at the dorms, there's pretty much nobody around. It's easily 3 to 4 in the morning. I get out of the car, and before anyone can say anything, Buzz follows. I remember being salty when her boyfriend just drove off, like, "Wow, dude, thanks for taking the hint, way to look out." We got to the brightly lit lobby of the dorms, and I turned around to face him. I asked what he was planning on doing. He looked a little bit stunned and was like, "Well, do you want me to come up?" I gave him a blunt nope, and watched with satisfaction as he had to wander back out into the night to find his way home. I probably should have ditched him earlier in the night. I shouldn't have given him so many openings to be alone with me, but honestly, I had my own agenda. The way I see it, he wasted his time with me all night, waiting for me to lose my bearings. That never happened. I like to think I kept him busy and maybe spared another girl. Cashy with the 20 maple syrup doll hairs says, "Shut me down hard." Do. Windows is shutting down. Thank you, Cashy. Thank you. Hope you are having a good evening. Hope you guys are going to get some good sleep here. Hopefully not too many people have passed out, because we got 2 more stories to barrel through before the end. Transition. Yeah, I heard there was some earthquakes. Is there more earthquakes than normal, like this time of year? Or I mean, I don't even know if it's really this time of year. I think I've been like looking a little bit into this one cool YouTube channel I watch from time to time, and they talk a lot about the activity of the sun and how a lot of the solar radiation that sort of shoots out of the sun at like the speed of light can essentially like interact with our, magnetic field around the earth and then create geotectonic activity, such as earthquakes and things of that nature. And I feel like that's something that not a lot of people really consider too often. And it's kind of neat because some of the technology they use, I believe, they can even predict. Whoa. They can even predict where earthquakes are going to be happening based on like sunspots and things like that, which is pretty buck wild. Okay, Fred D. So with the 999 now this is I just want to clarify that that's not $1,000. At least I don't think that's $1,000 because what is PHP? Let me first off, thank you so much for your donation, Fred D. It says, can you shout out my friend Franco de Rosario? Franco de Rosario. He loves your work, and this super chat is from him, sending good vibes from the Philippines. Your voice and delivery are awesome. Thank you, Fred, and thank you, Franco del Rosario. Yeah. So let's see, 999 PHP, which is the Filipino currency to USD. Because sometimes chat doesn't. Yeah, so it's $20, 20 United States dollar, and so first off, thank you so much for that. But like, I would have shit my pants if it was fucking $999. That would be beyond my freaking comprehension, honestly. But seriously, thank you so much. Shout out to you guys. Love you. Hope you're doing well in the Philippines. Holding it down. Really appreciate it. Man, you guys are so generous tonight. This has been nuts. It must be, I don't even know what to attribute this to, but it's been a wild night so far with that. So thank you guys. Okay, so this is the second to last story. Yeah, still obviously thank you so much for the donation, guys. Thank you. And Mr. Anthony Esposito with the 5 says, hey, it's been a while. About to pass out. Just wanted to say hello. Max to send is 500. Holy shit, that would be... Yeah, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that would be insane. I know the animation guy said he was going to send that, but I was like, I gotta call his bluff there. But it's good to see you, Anthony. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well, man. It's been a minute, and I hope you get some schlizzeep. Noah Boyce is your best scary story reader. Thank you. I like to be spooky. He just sent the whole... This boy, he's about to send the whole stimulus check. Okay. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, my cat had a litter of kittens, and I was trying to give them away at my local park. Around the same time as when I started to wear sports bras. I was prepubescent and getting used to being a big girl and thought it was kind of neat to be growing up. Either way, being new to sports bras, I found I could use it as a large pocket of sorts. I had taken 3 kittens to the park and I had given away 2 kittens while I was there. So naturally, with only 1 kitten left, I put it in my newly acquired pocket for the 3-block journey through the neighborhood back home. Now, I wasn't supposed to be back home for at least another hour, as I didn't have to be home until the streetlights came on and the sun was a ways from setting. I was about halfway home and only needed to make one more turn and walk up the road to my house when a man in a white truck pulled up and asked what I was doing. Sorry, my eye's itching really bad. It's like probably a beard lash. One of my beard lashes jumped up there. Yeah, I'll be a big girl one day. I hope so. Who's Joel? Take a wild guess. No, I wasn't. Okay. No, I wasn't supposed to be back home for at least another hour, as I didn't have to be home until the streetlights came on and the sun was a ways from setting. I was about halfway home and only needed to make one more turn and walk up the road to my house when a man in a white truck pulled up and asked what I was doing. I knew not to talk to strangers. It was drilled into my head at a young age, but I didn't find it weird because I lived in a pretty small town in Utah where everyone knew everyone, and it wasn't strange to be stopped by someone who looked somewhat familiar because they would usually just ask how my parents were, or they would make sure the younger kids in town were okay. So even though I didn't recognize him, I thought he could be my parents' friend. He leaned over the open truck window as I walked closer and said, "What do you got in your shirt?" Me being an innocent child and not understanding that question as a no-go, I stayed standing close to the truck door and simply said, "A kitten?" and continued to explain that my cat had babies. At this point, Oops. Hey, Juan, with the 2, says you flirted with your patients, huh? I did. Sometimes a little too hard, if you catch my drift. Just kidding. How old are you? I am 29. I'll be 30 in June. Which is pretty weird. Kind of sneaks up on you. Been seeing, Snapchat has, here's memories from 3 fucking years ago, or, memories from a year ago, and you're like, what, that was a year ago, dude? What the hell? That was just felt like it just happened. No, I wasn't supposed to be back. Well, I already read that. So even though I didn't, okay, a kitten, continue to explain at this point. Okay. At this point, he pulled my shirt away from my chest at the neckline and said, "I'm just going to peek at the kitty," and looked down my shirt. Alarm bells started going off. Even though I did notice the remark about what was in my shirt, I definitely knew he shouldn't be looking down my shirt. I started to back away and reached out and grabbed my... Whoops. 30? Whoop whoop. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't feel 30. I don't know what I expected. Can you be 23 again? I mean, I feel identical to what I was at 23, literally the same person. Maybe not exactly the same person, but definitely pretty much the same person. I feel like not much changes, I mean, obviously if I'm the same person forever, maybe I just haven't grown, which is not a good thing, but that's... So maybe it's bad that I haven't changed. I don't know. Immortal face. Boo! Fucking boo! Thank you, Immortal. You always keep everything so evenly balanced. Oh my god, look at this. Cameron DeVillers. I hope I pronounced that right, with the $69. Hell yes, it's nice. Keep up the great content. Thank you, Cameron. Shit. Thank you for the 69er. Holy cow. Holy shit, that's, I believe, the biggest dono of the night, aside from more people, their stacked donations, but thank you, Cameron. Holy shizzers. Holy shizzers of the lizards. Making me twerky. Making me 69 twerk. Okay, here it is. I started the back. Okay, yeah. Thank you again, Cameron. Holy Jesus, guys. You guys have been nutball. Holy shit. That's 600 people in the chat. We're popping off. Goodness gracious. I started to back away, and he reached out and grabbed my wrist. My gut twisted as I realized I couldn't get away. He started to drag me closer to the truck door as he opened the door, stepped out and grabbed my wrist again. But now, there wasn't a metal door between us. It was at this time I went into full panic mode trying to get away, trying to bite and kick, but I was too scared to scream. Just a second later, I hear screeching tires and at the corner just ahead of us, and I see another truck that is doing at least 50 miles per hour in this small neighborhood ripping around a corner. It was my dad. He stopped just inches away from the guy of this strange man. Oops. Now he won't narrate for 2 weeks. Oh, God. He stopped just inches away from the front of this strange man's truck and jumped out of the truck, his face red and fists ready to beat the life out of this guy, and he screams, "What are you doing?" The man cowers and says, I was just looking at her. I was just talking about... I was about to take the kitten. My dad physically lifted this man by his shirt and threw him back in his truck and goes on to beat the life out of him. But I grabbed his shirt, me now sobbing and begging to go home. He relents, but warns this man that if he ever sees him in our town again, he would be a walking dead man. He drives the whole seconds it took to get home with me still sobbing in his lap while holding this shaking kitten. When we get home, my mom... Wait, what? KN the phone? Gets... What does it say? When we get home, my mom gets KN the phone with the police. What's KN? Oh, gets on. Okay, jeez. I feel like I think too much about it without realizing it's a spelling error. I can get a new spinal injection. Oh, God. What kind of powers would I get with a spinal injection? Fuck a clean chat. When we get home, my mom gets on the phone with the police and proves the little details that my dad has obtained. Fucking Jesus Christ. When we get home, my mom gets on the phone with the police and goes over the little details that my dad had obtained. I got a stern talking to about strangers and what to do on those situations, and that was the end of it. The police were never able to find him, and no one around our town knew who he was, so I think he might have just been passing through the town, or may have even been a prowler from another town. And here we are, almost 2 decades later, and I asked my dad how he knew to come up that street like a demon escaping from Hades. He said that he was just sitting on the couch with my mom and had a gut feeling that something was horribly wrong and jumped in the truck and drove. Apparently my mom was so shocked by my dad's weird intuition out of nowhere that she didn't even have enough time to follow him outside before he was already driving off. I'm so grateful that my dad followed his gut and found me so quickly, because I believe that if he was a few minutes... Whoops. Whoa, this is an interesting name to pronounce here. Aeneas Elias, I think. I hope I pronounced it right. I'm sorry, I probably butchered that, but thank you for the 10. It says, I have been newly diagnosed with Chiari malformation, and it has been hard. My skull is too small, and it's crushing my cerebellum. Your channel has helped me. I see the neurosurgeon May 18th. Oh, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. Thank you so much for your donation, and I really hope things go well with the meeting, but obviously I hope everybody will be praying for you, and if you ever need anybody to talk to, obviously the Discord is always open. There's a lot of good people there to chat about these kinds of things. I know people, obviously, everybody has various things that they've gone through that they can discuss, so I'm sorry to hear that, but we're here for you. I'm so grateful that my dad followed his gut and found me so quickly, because I believe that if he was a few moments later, I would have been in that predator's truck, and I don't even want to think about what would have happened then. Thanks for being so positive, guys. You know, it's like one really good thing about this community, extending out to the, not just in Let's Read here, but also extending out to um, the horror narration community. Everyone in it is like really positive, which is super great, super supportive people. And just, you would imagine like in a community that focuses on scary things that, maybe people would be sort of maybe darker or something like that, like negative emotions. But honestly, everyone is so kind and good-willed, and that's what I really appreciate, about you guys, is that coming into these chats, it's like a pleasure. You know what I mean? It's a pleasure to interact with you guys every time I do live streams and every time I post a video. All right, guys, this is the last story of the night. If you guys want to start thinking of some clever, funny things to say at the end. These experiences took place 1 year after high school, and that was a while ago, so shit. Thank you, Lila. I love you too. Glauco Rodriguez with the 10 says, I love listening to your stuff while I work nights at the hospital. It really adds to the spooky ambiance while I take care of my crazies. Oh man, I feel that for sure. Nighttime, especially the full moon. You know how they get. But I'm glad I can set the atmosphere with you. We can be there with you overnight. Night shift is definitely awesome. But at the same time, it's usually when people are most short-staffed and you're kind of like left out to dry a little bit. Scary gargle stories. Lots of love from Texas. We have a lot of, got a lot of fans from Texas, which is cool. Gorgle. I did a gorgle. Sounds like a bong. It's a very gargly bong. These experiences took place 1 year after high school, and that was a while ago, so some memories are fuzzy. I, an 18-year-old female, was still living at home with my dad. I paid rent and worked full-time at a grocery store. My stalker, we'll call him David, also an 18-year-old male. God damn, my fucking throat just keeps getting, like, dry, even though I just gorgled. I just freaking gorgled. What the heck? Fuck, dude. Daddy's gone gurgle. Fred D with another 999 Filipino buckaroos. That's the official currency, which translates to 20 USD, just so no one goes buck wild again there. But still, thank you so much, Fred. It's very generous. As my boy Franco del Rosario, love the way you pronounce his name, so he dropped another US 20. Thank you, you're great. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah, in the Philippines, I know they speak Tagalog, but like, are a lot of the names like where does that originates from, like Spain kind of, or kind of, they sound like Spanish names. I don't really know the history, the history of the Philippines. The buckaroo is probably the strongest currency currently. The current currency is currently careening courageously crowd of control. Joel, it's Tagalog. Tagalog? Tagalog. It's Tagalog. Sorry. I always thought it was Tagalog. I always because I worked with Filipino people, and I always thought they said Tagalog. Fry, yours doesn't sound Spanish. Maybe it's, yeah, there's gotta be maybe, I guess, well, obviously, I guess they don't have to be like a native, I guess, to the Philippines, too. They just might be from that area. Do the Chills voice. Does Chills do live streams ever? I feel like I don't ever see him doing it. Tagalog. Oh, okay. I thought you were correcting me, but I guess that's funny. Willow Mac with the 5 said, thank you for the stories. Wish I had more night. Willow, no worries. No, thank you. Thank you so much for your kind donations, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you get some sleepies. Some sleepies. I, an 18-year-old female, was still living at home with my dad. I paid rent and worked full-time at a grocery store. My stalker, we'll call him Dave, he was also 18, was my emotionally abusive boyfriend at the time. He would constantly state how embarrassed he was of my looks and weight, and then flip the narrative and say how miserable he would be if I left him. He would try to pressure me to cut ties with my family, and would pout when I declined. I was no shirk... Wait, what? No shirking Violet? I was no shirking Violet and eventually grew tired of him. This is weird. I was no shirking Violet? Is that a thing? Or is it just a grammar error bullshit? No shrinking violet phrase. If you say someone is no shrinking violet, you mean they're not at all shy. Okay. So yeah, how did they phrase that? When it comes to expressing himself, he is no shrinking violet. Okay, I see. I was no shrinking shirking. He's shirking. I was no shrinking violet and eventually grew tired of the emotional manipulation. My first experience happened while my dad was asleep for his night shift. Dave was at my house. Sorry. Dave was at my house trying to pick a fight with me about not moving in with him. Something about that day woke me up and I told him, I'm not doing this anymore. We're not good for each other and I want to be happy. Dave lost it. He started crying, and when he realized that it wouldn't work, he kept trying to persuade me to stay with him. I told him no, that we could remain friends, wrong thing to say, and that he needed to leave. He left, or so I thought. 30 minutes later, I was making pancakes in the kitchen, and I heard my brother's dog, Paco, growling from under the porch. It was a deep growl, and I could tell something was off. I opened the door to find Dave hiding on the corner of my porch. He then bulldozed himself back into the house and told me he refused to leave until I was back with him. I began to panic. I didn't want to wake my dad up because I thought I could handle the situation myself. I wasn't easily intimidated by men and was raised by a bunch of rowdy farmers. I told him I needed to use the bathroom. I grabbed my phone and sped walked into the bathroom and texted one of my guy friends, Chris, and explained that I needed help. Thank God for Chris. He dropped everything and drove over as fast as he could while I was stuck in the living room with Dave telling me we'll be moving in together. It was like nothing I said mattered. Chris walked in and told him to leave now or he'd be calling the police. Dave was cowering and booked it, saying he'd text me later. Now the second experience. This happened a week or so after I broke up with Dave, the stalker. I was on my way to work when I noticed my neighbor's car was following me all the way into town. I live in a rural area, so it takes a good 30 minutes to get into town. Once I parked, my neighbor, Sally, parked her car and started waving her hands and yelling. I walked over to her, clearly confused. Maybe something was wrong with my car. She ran over and said, "That green truck has been following you." She pointed across the parking lot, and sure enough, there was Dave in his pickup. Sally began to tell me she saw his truck parked by her house out of view from the main road, and she noticed he'd leave when I'd left. Sally said she saw it happen about 3 times, and she wanted me to know. She told me to call the police and hugged me and began yelling obscenities at Dave to leave me alone. I was shaking and thanked her and went in to clock in for my shift. I came out from my first break hours later and noticed he was still parked there. I wasn't scared. I was furious. I did one of the dumbest things one can do in this situation. I stomped over to his truck and pulled his door open and began yelling at him to leave me alone, and if he doesn't, I'd whoop him. He laughed. Now some backstory. I'm a tall Amazonian of a woman and have been known to be a nasty scrapper when it came to fighting. No matter how intimidating or angry I was, nothing I said was getting through to him. When he laughed, that's when the hairs on my neck stood up and I left his pickup and went back to work. I explained to a coworker what was going on and he helped me to my car once my shift was over. Dave continued to stalk me for a good few months, and I kept myself surrounded by my friends with a taser. I eventually came out and told my dad. He was upset I didn't tell him earlier, and he tightened security around the house as a result. Alex E. with a 5 says, public service announcement. Please refrain from fingering apples. Any personnel caught in the act will be prosecuted from the chat. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I feel like not a lot of people kind of take that into considerations. Peaches may be fingered, but only with consent. That is a good asterisk to include in that new announcement. Hey, Sean, what's up? You're just catching the end of the story if you're just getting here, but we had a good time tonight. I eventually came out and told my dad. He was upset I didn't tell him earlier, and he tightened security around the house as a result. I never did call the cops. Dave's stepdad was in the force, and being in a small town that gave Dave more leverage to go about with no consequences. I was finally able to shake him from stalking me when I got a new boyfriend, now husband, but that's a whole other story. My neighbor and friends were very helpful in knowing what I know now. Fuck. Head mod Alex. He brings his own wrench. My neighbor and friend were very helpful in knowing what I know now. If I wasn't warned by my neighbor or my friend decided not to answer my text, I probably would have been in. Okay. My neighbor and friend were very helpful in knowing what I know now. If I wasn't warned by my neighbor or my friend decided not to answer my texts, I probably would have been in a whole different situation. Situation. Alright, guys. Well, we have done it. A little over 3 hours here. Thanks for chilling with me. I'm going to read the outro, which will give you all the info you need that I normally have at the end of the video. But tell me something funny to say at the end of this, please. Thank you. Please and thank you. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r/Let's Read Official, and give and receive feedback from the community, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And join my Discord to interact with me and other listeners directly. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations for just $1 a month on Patreon, and maybe even pick up some Let's Read merch on Spreadshirt. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all these stories in long compilation form and save huge on data, located anywhere you listen to podcasts. Links in the bio. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, always finger your apple. That's actually pretty good. Stay fresh, cheese bags. Always finger the apples. I might do that. Keep your fingers out of the finger the. Thanks so much, friends, and remember, always finger the apples. Joel is Scare-American. Nice. And remember, don't lick the plastic. Yeah, Pradeep, you jerk. My nationality is Pennsylvanian, yeah. We take great pride in being from Pennsylvania. Wash your apples before you finger them. That's actually good too. Maybe I'll do that one. Well, actually, we already got it. So, but I do appreciate all the Foony suggestions here. But guys, thank you again for being here. Holy crap, I don't even know how to thank you for how incredibly generous everybody has been tonight. Just kind of blowing my mind, honestly. Definitely makes me want to stream like literally all the time, but I will try to stream more often. As I always say, I'm definitely always getting at least once a week. This video, as you know, will be out tomorrow, which will be April 17th, Friday. My schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for video releases. And the video will come out tomorrow at 7 p.m. on the YouTube channel. There will be another podcast uploaded on Monday that comes out at noon on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out for that, obviously. And love you guys. You kick ass. You kick asses. You kick multiple asses. You just like every ass that's lined up, you just kick it. It's awesome. Alex E with the 2, the biggest mod. My mods and I thank you for your service. You're welcome, mods. I know you couldn't have done it without me, so I appreciate that. But I will be seeing you guys out. Join the Discord if you haven't yet already. And come and join the after party if it does. I'm probably going to hit the hay, though, because I'm tired as heck. Blue Bunny with the 5 says, happiness and health to everyone. Stay safe and strong. Yes, it's a great message to end on. And you can just dab on a player, too. Joe, too late. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Also, if people don't know, these streams are put on a playlist called, just called streams. You can find that in the playlist options. But I mark them as unlisted, so they're not like interfering with the normal catalog of videos on the channel, like visually cluttering the place. But you can still watch these again once it processes on the, on the YouTubes. Guys, everyone report to Alex's office after this for the debrief. We got to really kind of go over some things with him, What's with all the $69 donations? Yeah, those were some nice donations. All right. Oh. Unread notifications. Oh, whoops, okay. It said there was unread notifications, but then there's none, so I have no idea what that was about, but any fart, much love. I will be sending you off with some delightful music. Oh, I've already closed the other music, but adios.